All right, Dax, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. You know, we talked about Anime NYC a lot, which I just got back from and seen everyone else, which was awesome. But I'm ready to come back and talk about some One Piece for sure.
Yeah, it always comes back to One Piece, damn it. There's no, like, quote, main topic of the video, but I did want to start things off by asking you, what do you think is at Lodestar?
Great question. I did do a video on this, and I'm actually so glad you asked because
There we
this
go,
is a topic.
self-promo.
Yep, and it also came up a little bit during Anime NYC, and I didn't want to like make a big like stink of it. Like, no, guys, you're thinking of it wrong. But you know, part of what we were talking about, I do have a theory on. So I'm glad you asked. So, you know, we know that whenever you go to Lodestar, you learn about a lot of stuff about like the poneglyph's existence, which is huge. But you specifically learn that you need the 4 road poneglyphs to find Laugh Tale. And so we know that Roger went there and learned that like 13 years before he got Odin. So that raises a question of what exactly is the thing on the island that tells them that? Because it can't just be a poneglyph because they didn't have Odin. How, like, you can't have a poneglyph that explains how to go read the poneglyphs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be in a language that you understand. And yes, Roger had the voice of all things, but even if you go to the very end of his journey in Skypiea, he looked at the poneglyph and was like, it speaks of a great power, right? What does it really say? And so that's not enough info, and that's at the end of the journey too, right? So his voice of all things is at max power at that point. And so so if you go back to Lodestar, it's like, okay, so who or what is there that explains the road poneglyphs to whoever gets there? And my guess is that there's something written in just like the vernacular. So like in Japanese, I guess, because it's a Japanese story, but English for us, whatever. And I think it's gonna be like basically like a poneglyph, but it's just written in the language they understand. And I also think directly next to it is gonna be the same message, but in the poneglyph language. So it's basically acting as a Rosetta Stone. So
I like that.
Because if you think about it, if you're gonna have an island that tells you to go read these stones that have a special language on it that nobody can read, it might be smart to leave behind a method to read the language, right? Like, it'd be kind of silly to be like, hey, go read these stones so you can go find the last island, and there's no possible way of reading the language, right? It's like, how, like, and that raises the question of how did the Oharans figure that out? Well, if you go into the library of Ohara, like the panels that we got during the Ohara incident, in the main room right next to the planetary model thing, there is like part of a slab of what looks like a poneglyph, like a cutoff part, and it's literally the same shape as the real life Rosetta Stone. Like, it's the exact same shape. And it's also like put up on a wall, like behind a case. And so I'm like, okay, they never talked about what that was, but if you have like a slab in the main room in Ohara, it's got to be an important slab, right? And so
we might even see that on Elbath.
Yeah, leading into that, it's like, you know, Saul probably knows about it, and I could see a world where Saul, you know, because I mean he was on Ohara and he got the books behind him. I could see him at least telling Robin, like, here is how your people found out the language. You know what I mean? Like, they got this Rosetta Stone and they got it from Lodestar. And the reason I like that, if that did happen, is Robin's shown a lot of respect for ruins. Like she does not like when ruins get destroyed or broken or tampered with. In Skypiea, like with Yama, if you remember that, she was like super angry at Yama for destroying the ruins because she's like, you can never bring these back, whatever.
You're one of the few people who actually remembers Yama.
Oh, hey,
that was like Robin's first one-on-one, dude. After joining the Straw Hats, people forget.
And it was like 18 years until we got the next one-on-one against Black Maria. Like, it was literally,
going
I think,
from Yama to Black Maria. What a jump.
I know, dude. And she cooked Yama too. Like, she was.
Yeah, he didn't stand a chance.
He got obliterated. But the last thing, because I know I've been talking for a minute here about Robin with the ruins, is I think that if Saul told her that, or even if she just went to Lodestar and saw that there was something missing, I think she would take it upon herself to fix it. Like, imagine she goes to Lodestar, sees a chunk of the rock is missing that like rocks took. That's kind of what I think. That's how he figured out how to read the poneglyphs. And then I think she would like etch it back in, because remember Odin etched a message into the gold in Skypiea.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I want Robin to etch part of a message in the language back somewhere, and so I want her to like basically make a new poneglyph and leave it at Lodestar. Like, this is how it's supposed to be, right? So,
man, that's sick. I love all your ideas, man. I'm a big fan of them. And you did go the opposite direction that I went, which I think is hilarious.
Okay.
I think that's great, right? Like everybody has different ideas. Like when
Yeah.
you said that there's a missing slab of poneglyph or vernaculars over there, I'm like, wow, I was not expecting that because I was so caveman brained that I was like, yeah, maybe there's like drawings in the sand.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was like, maybe there's like, a drawing of 4 stones and they all lead to one point, and that's how Roger like pieced it together, saying, oh, maybe there's a treasure map over here. But
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was imagining.
Yeah, I want to pull the panel up because I have all these panels still because that video was kind of recent. But
Yeah.
they explicitly say, or like Inuyarashi does, that on that island you it's not just the 4 road poneglyphs. You learn about the existence of the poneglyphs in general, like what they are, right? And you also learn about the kingdom that created them. And so
Damn, there's a lot there.
Right. And so that's why I'm like, who the hell is telling Roger about this? Like the other idea I had is like, is there a tone dial and someone's just explaining? Or is there a race of people there that just live there,
I looked up Lodestar because I was like, oh yeah, let me like refresh on what it looks like, image wise. And I forgot that there's a Ben 10 monster called Lodestar. So that's
No
all
way.
that pops up. Yeah. It looks kind of cool. It's like black and yellow. But yeah, like Lodestar is so awesome. And I do want to see how like they learned all of that, because that's a lot of information, like that's not information you can exactly fit in a little drawing on the beach that I thought of. So there's definitely like maybe a book or, like you said, a tribe of people there. And I'm going to say this right here, but I think there's also even a chance that current day Lodestar is going to be very different than the Lodestar that Roger visited. Because
Agreed.
you haven't watched the One Piece movies, but there's One Piece movie 2, which is I think called Dead End Adventure. It's the one where like it's a race. You have a lot of pirates racing to the final island. They all have like a log pose, and whoever makes it to the end gets like a treasure chest or something. It was something silly like that. The main villain was like a guy who had a Logia fruit, actually. It was the first person Luffy defeated with the Logia. The guy had the candy fruit.
Wait, Parosparrow?
No, it sounds like Parosparrow. It's literally a green buffed out version of Parosparrow. His name was Gasparde.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's like an ex-marine. It's something silly, but in that movie, the final island that they're supposed to go to, it gets switched out, and it's actually a marine base. So the entire race led up to a marine base, essentially. And then the real island is like hiding out somewhere else out there. And I was like, wait, that's kind of like Laugh Tale and Lodestar. Like, what if we get to Lodestar and it's now a marine base, so the Marines took it over so that nobody else can, get to the final island and have the same conclusion that Roger did. And also, like, for Marines, right? If you're a Marine, why would you not want to station yourself up at the end of the road? Right? Like, maybe the pirates get there, they're like, oh, like, we're gonna get to Lodestar, guys. We're gonna circumnavigate the whole world. And then Marine base time, like you got like a Kainu there, like, a bunch of random people, maybe Captain Jonathan from G8. Like just put a bunch of like people there to stop pirates at the end of their trip.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would say like maybe the caveat, but I don't think it's like it would stop that. Is I'm still a big believer that Scopper Gabon is going to be on Lodestar. It just makes so much sense. Obviously, like the beginning, middle, and end with Crocus, Rayleigh, and Scopper. It's just like who else would be here waiting for us at the end? Scopper's the only one that I feel like makes sense.
I like that.
And also, like kind of a mystery that might even help tie some of this together. Well, I guess one thing I should say about the Marine part, if there were Marines there, it would build a lot more like plot reason for us to have learned about the poneglyphs sooner, because we may not get to learn it there if there's Marines, right? Like we may not even, and also like I said with like the slab part, if there is a slab missing, we would have never been able to learn about the poneglyphs here. And so if there's Marines there too to like stop us, like maybe they're guarding whatever's left of like this Rosetta Stone thing I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that would all line up. But another thing with Lodestar that I think is really important, especially kind of in this context, is like if you go back to the beginning of the story with Reverse Mountain, Crocus tells us if you follow the log pose all the way to the end, you're going to find the final island Raftel. And he would know because he's been there. And so what he said was not accurate. And so I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, maybe Oda changed his mind. Maybe it's just, like a fragment of early One Piece where like Oda didn't really have the full route, planned yet.
Yeah.
But if you go back to Zoe, they bring that up. And Nami's like, hey, so Crocus told us to go there and said that the final island was there, but apparently it's not. And then Inuyashi's like, well, Crocus does know more than me, because he's actually made it all the way to the final island. So if he told you to go there, you should listen, because he's not going to lie to you unless he doesn't like you, which obviously he does like them from the Laboon stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that raises the question of like, so Inuyasha and Crocus have differing levels of information on what's going on here. And Crocus, the one who knows a little bit more, is telling us we should go there. Like, he didn't stop and tell us, hey, you're going to need these 4-road poneglyphs. Don't even bother following the log pose. Like, you're good. You just need to find these things. No, he told us to follow it. So what is there that Crocus wants us to see or thinks that we need to find to make it there? Because that's what I'm reading. And you could think of it as, oh, he just wants us to go there because then we'll learn about the 4-road poneglyphs and then we'll figure it out. But at the same time, like, he could have just told them, and he probably also presumed that they would find someone along the way who would tell them, because, I mean, there's multiple people who know, right? Like, they met Rayleigh. I mean, obviously Inuyasha here. Like, there's a lot of people who could tell them. So I guess basically it's like, what is the reason why Crocus told us to go there? And I think it's because Scopper's there, and Scopper's going to help us. That's kind of my main reason.
Yeah, I mean, if Scopper's not the person off the coast of Elbaf, I hope that he's the person at Lodestar. Like, I know people, people are getting Scopper fatigue, which is kind of crazy to say, but, whenever there's a silhouette or whenever we hit an island, I'm like, hey, guys, like, maybe Scopper's here, And I think people have been burned by the Scopper hype for, like, that we've had for so long that people are starting to not want to see him, or they're starting to disbelieve it. But my thing with Scopper, I see him the same way as I see Laugh Tale. He is a requirement on the journey. We will have to see him eventually. We will get there eventually. It's just a matter of when, right? If you bet on Scott, it's like betting on dragon stocks, right? Like, you're always going to win at the end of the day. It's just a matter of when will he show up and do things, right? Is it tomorrow? Is it next week, next month, next year? We don't know. And that's how I feel about Scopper. I don't think that Oda's going to forsake him, especially, you could say that, oh, like, he was a background character in the Odin flashback. He kind of was, you saw him in like 1 or 2 panels. Yeah, sure, maybe. But we also saw him front and center at God Valley. Like, he was right beside Roger. Like, he is like the distinguished, like, left-hand man.
Yeah,
he's
he's Sanji. And he told Roger, don't call the captain's dibs this time. Like Scopper's there trying to get something from the island for himself.
Yeah. Like, Scopper is going to be important. He definitely will. And I do like the Scopper idea. I do like Shiki and all these other old heads coming back into the play, because that means that we could get more information about God Valley, or, things that happened in the past, the truth about Rocks, the truth about Roger. Anything like that, I think, is a good thing. And I think we will get more of it, especially with how Vegapunk's message kind of set it up, right? He's like, hey, the Roger Pirates, what the hell were they doing? Like, there's so many questions out, and we're not going to go back and see Rayleigh. I mean, maybe he comes to us, but I mean, the guy's passed out at the bar. He's like me on a Saturday night. So it's like, I don't see us talking to Rayleigh anytime soon. Obviously, Crocus is nowhere close. Scopper, even though we don't know where he's at, I would put money down and say that he is the guy who's closest to the Straw Hats right now, in terms of, like, distance.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I totally agree that, like, Scopper is somewhere on the path before the end. Like, there's, like, no doubt that it's, like, and like you're talking about with the fatigue. Actually, in my Lodestar video, I originally had this in the script, but I ended up removing it, where I had, like, a minute or two where I was like, all right, guys, I know that you guys are tired of hearing Scopper for every mystery character, right? Like, every time there's a silhouette or, like, the man marked by flames, we immediately are like, oh, it's probably Scopper. Like, and I'm sure it's almost like the boy who cried wolf at this point. It's like, when he comes, I'll worry about it. Like, I'm just not even going to listen to it. And that's part of why I think Lodestar is the right place, because it would just be like the very end. It's like the last island that we're going to go to before we can presume everything really hits the fan, which, like, it kind of is already. But at the same time, I could see a world where maybe Oda is like, we got to wrap this story up. Maybe I can skip Lodestar somehow. Maybe I'll just bring Scopper to Elbaf. I could see a world, but, like, I think the plan is Lodestar, but I could see Oda maybe modifying that a little bit.
I think the only reason why I like and brought up the idea of Lodestar being a Marine base is because the Marines have been wholly incompetent throughout the series. Like, they've always made, like, questionable decisions, and it's like, yo, like, if the world government and the Marines had 900 years to, you know, stop people from getting the One Piece, getting to Laugh Tale, man, if I was them, I'd have, like, all the poneglyphs in my possession. You know, I'd be guarding every single one. I'd have, like, a, you know, a vice admiral at every island standing beside a poneglyph 24/7.
Yep.
Like, it's crazy that they don't do that. And that's why I like the idea that Shiryu brought up, right? Shiryu was like, oh, like, the man marked by flames. Like, nobody knows anything about him, but if he worked for the world government, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that sounds like something that they would do. And it's like, yeah, like, that's what I would do. God damn, I had 800 years? Dude, they act like these poneglyphs are, like, hidden, you know, like, behind, like, a mist.
Yep.
You know, like, invisible to the naked eye. But it's like, brother, it's a giant stone, and there's almost, like, one per island. It's like, what do you mean you couldn't find these things and, you know, sequester them?
Like, it just takes a couple educated guesses to guess where some of them would be. You know, it's like, it's like, especially like you said, like after 900 years or whatever. And also, you think about Kuma, who they had under their control and can paw things wherever. Why don't they just tell Kuma, hey, go to these islands and paw the poneglyphs back?
Man,
you know,
forget that. Like, if you have the entire Navy, God, guys, hey, hot dogs are going to be Sunday. But before we get the hot dogs, I need like 1,000 people to like move this rock. Like, it's not that crazy. Like, I feel like there has to be an explanation. Maybe I'm coping, but I do. The Marines, I don't want them to win at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. I love these guys, but I want them to seem like competent villains. So I kind of hope there is a reality where Emu or Akainu or somebody says, oh yeah, the poneglyphs, yeah, when we get close to them, they actually keep us away, or, you know, like there's a force field around it, or just something to where we would look at it and be like, okay, so that's why Emu didn't pick them up. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. Because they do have a voice, so maybe they have a force field.
So let me give you a little bit of a theory on that potentially, tying to the voice part. So Randy, Troy, and I had a theory that we came up with together on stream, and it was like so mind blowing that he ended up making a video out of it called "Reassemble Joyboy." And basically, the idea is, what if Joyboy was turned to stone and then cut up into pieces, and those are the poneglyphs? And so, that's why they have a voice, because it's somebody's body. And then that ties maybe back to why Blackbeard wanted Boa's fruit. What if he wants to reassemble them and turn him back, but it would be like a corpse, and then he could use Moria's fruit, who he also was looking for, and then reanimate that thing. And then maybe he has Joyboy in his possession at that point, right? Something like that. And the reason why I bring that up now is you're talking about this force field thing. Well, what did we just see in Egghead? They pulled a rope, and Joyboy was able to just blast everyone with hockey that was like bad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like only the bad people felt pain. Everyone else was like, oh, this is like, okay, this is good or whatever, right? And so what if like whenever Emu or the Gorosei or whatever go near poneglyphs, you know, like it hurts them in some way, because Joyboy's hockey is like selective.
Yeah, what if it sniffs out your family lineage? It's like, ooh, you got like 2% celestial dragon. Yeah, you can't come near me, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of cool.
Or it can like detect their voice, going back to like voice of all things, because like voice has been used a lot lately. Yeah, it could tell like, oh, you like your voice, like, you know, it wants to do something evil. Like you're not, like, you basically think back to the Will of D. It's like, are you a Will of D fan? It's like, no. Okay, well, are you because like you're either a part of the Will of D, you're neutral, or you're against the Will of D. And I think like the against the Will of D group probably can't go anywhere near him. Maybe.
Yeah, or it's like Fujitora. You know, Fujitora just straight up saw colors. You know, when he saw the people of Dressrosa running around, it's like, oh, there's this guy's blue and purple, and he knew that they were happy. Like, these guys, there's not an evil bone in their body. So maybe the poneglyphs are like that, where it's like, oh, like, I got a code purple on the way. Like, I'll open myself up. Something like that.
I would not be shocked if Joyboy's hockey, which I presume would be, until Luffy gets to the very end of the story, is probably going to be the strongest hockey we've ever seen. I would not be shocked if he was able to be super duper duper selective. Like, even with Rayleigh, you go back to like the auction house, and he's like trying to like figure out the situation, and he's like, oh, okay, I see what happened here. Conqueror's Blast. And he only knocked out the people that were bad. Like, he was able to like figure it out, right?
Yeah, he found like the perfect wavelength.
Yeah, and so I'm sure Joyboy has mastered that to an even bigger degree. So.
Man, here's a random question. I just thought about this, brother, but if you were to have the voice of all things in real life, would you use it? Like imagine like random objects in your household will start like spouting nonsense. Would you want that power or no? You want it?
Oh yeah. I already feel like I do.
But here's the thing,
which maybe isn't good.
Okay, so the poneglyph, like we talked about the Skypiea one, and you said, yeah, like it told Roger that, you know, there's a great power. Didn't say what, it didn't really elaborate. But like, what if that's the nonsense that your inanimate objects are spouting? Like imagine you go outside and you got like a toaster, and it's like, it just says butter. Not even toast or bread, it just says butter. Well, wouldn't that be kind of cursed?
That would get overwhelming.
Yeah, like it doesn't stop.
But let's say the toaster could instead warn me when something's wrong. Like what if it starts? What if like I have the toast in, and then all I hear is burn, and then I go over and I save my toast before it starts burning too much. If that's the case, then we're really talking. But if they're just like spewing nonsense all the time, then I feel like I'd go crazy. I'd probably be crazy even before this happened. Like if I was talking to my objects, I'm already in a bad spot.
How many talking inanimate objects do you think you could handle in a room at any given point in time? Like, because I limited it to a toaster because I was like, okay, that's like simple, right? That's like one in the kitchen, maybe it's in the pantry, whatever. But like, your gaming room or your computer room right now, like, what if your bookshelf behind you was talking, and then your TV was talking, your monitor was talking, your mic is talking? Like, how many items could you take?
Oh, I couldn't take that many because a lot of the things you just said would probably be saying like clean me, like
dust me.
Please dust me, or like please update the software on the TV. Like if they're saying things like that, I want 0. But if we're talking they're trying to help me, I mean there's probably only like 5 or 10 things that I would even want. Like if the smoke alarm can start being hey, I'm low battery, or hey, I'm detecting smoke. Like,
oh my God,
great,
low battery.
Awesome, please, smoke alarm, please. But carbon monoxide, thing, same thing. But like, I probably don't want the TV already talks to me enough. You know? So I don't want the TV.
Oh my
God,
yeah. Imagine the TV talking over the channels you're trying to watch.
It's like, Dak, please change to this channel. Like, I'm tired of showing this.
No more NFL. I want to watch Lifetime. Turn on The Bachelorette.
Some telenovelas, you know.
Yeah. I want to see if the grandma gets with my uncle.
Yeah.
Just something random.
Or those like crazy those like Indian dramas. Have you seen those? Where like it doesn't even make sense.
I love them.
Yeah, those
dude, drama shows and like love stories, it's like my guilty pleasure. They're so bad. Like I don't tell people that, but yeah, like I love watching like reality shows and just really bad dramas because they're hilarious. Like, grab a partner, grab a buddy, and just watch one of those shows and just have a good laugh about it, man. That's so fun.
Yeah, as long as you don't take it too seriously.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's like half and half. I feel like half the people do take it seriously, but then the other half are watching just for comedy.
I'm somewhere in the middle because I don't take it seriously. That's a weird way to put it for me, but like, there are people in reality shows I root for, and then after they get eliminated, I'm like, damn it, what do I do now?
Yep, that's always the most heartbreaking part. Like,
yeah,
I mean, this is a little bit different, but like American Idol, I used to watch like in its early seasons, religiously. And whenever like my favorite person would get booted off, my interest in the show plummeted. Like,
same.
I don't even want to listen to these guys anymore. Now my favorite guy is not going to get the record deal or whatever. Usually they do if they finish high enough, but.
Oh, I like watching Survivor too.
Oh,
Survivor's pretty good. There's one season where this guy stands on like a pole for like 8 hours and he beats out everybody. It's so insane. Like
stands on a pole?
Yeah, it's like he stands on like the lip of a pole is like this big, and there's like another guy who's like ripped out of his mind, and he was like his opponent. It was essentially like the skinniest guy there versus like the most buffest guy out there, and the skinny guy wins, and I was like, damn, that's willpower, brother. That guy's got some conquerors hockey. Yeah, man, I love reality TV. But back to One Piece though. Laugh
back
Tale.
to the non-reality TV.
Everybody has their One Piece theories as to what is waiting there at Laugh Tale. I know that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, it is.
So
for sure.
I gotta ask, are you still on board with your Afro theory? Like, where are you right now? Or do you have like a secondary theory that you're kind of playing with?
I don't. I'm still fully on board with the Afro theory.
If you don't mind, can you like break it down real quick for people who don't know and they're not familiar?
Yeah. So honestly, it's been a minute since I like gave the spiel, so so this might not be the best version. I used to have a really good elevator pitch for this, but basically, the origin of the idea ties back to Brook, right? Because Brook died and came back to life, which is already a good parallel for Joyboy and Luffy, because like Joyboy died 800 years ago or whatever, came back as Luffy, sort of. And then Luffy also died on the roof and then came back in Gear 5th. So we have this dying and resurrection element so many times. And so you look at Brook, who is like the epitome of that. And also, Brook has been seen in the Nika pose before. You go back to Fishman Island, he's like playing music and he jumps in front of the moon and does the pose. It looks very similar to the Onigashima thing, but obviously it was like a little lower stakes. But basically, his whole goal is to keep his afro because he wants to go show Laboon, because that's the only way that Laboon will know it's him, is if he keeps that afro. And so, and part of that is that's the one part of him that did not disappear when he died. Like, it did not deteriorate because he has strong roots, but also like hair survives longer, I guess, than like flesh. And so that's where the idea originally started. It's like, okay, so did like Joyboy have an afro? Why would that be important? And you can also think about Long Ring Longland, where we had Afro Luffy, and that ties to the Davy Back fight. That ties to Davy Jones, which Davy Jones is one of the biggest pirate legends ever. And so basically, all of this is to say that afros have been kind of highlighted in the story here and there. A lot of important people have afros, and so I think what a lot of people ask is like, okay, but how does an afro make sense for this? Well, there's two things that we know for sure that the One Piece does. Well, three things in general. One is that Joyboy left it there. Like, Joyboy put it there. So it's probably something that belonged to Joyboy at one point. So his own afro would make sense there, to some degree. A lot of things would make sense for that reason. But then the second thing is that it made the Roger pirates laugh. So whenever you think about what the One Piece is, a lot of people bring up a poneglyph, or they bring up the tail partially is what made them laugh, but obviously like all of them are laughing so hard like they're crying. And so I'm like, okay, so whatever the One Piece is, it's gonna tell them stuff, but it's also going to be funny. And it doesn't just tell them anything, they learn everything. Odin said, we learned all the truths of the world at Laugh Tale. The ancient weapons, the will of D, the 100-year void, the ancient kingdom. Like, they even learned about the future, right? Because that's right after that, he's like, 20 years, someone's going to come save Wano. So you learn everything. So when I put all that together, I'm like, okay, so it's got to be funny. It's got to be something that Joyboy left behind. And it's got to tell you everything. And so I think an afro makes perfect sense, because if you take it one little, maybe magical step further, well, if it's his afro, that might be what holds his memories. And you might be able to put on the afro and get all of his memories as if you're getting updated just like Joyboy. And to back that up, and this is actually a separate video I'm working on, there are literally, not like, I'm going to say dozens, but there may even be like 100 plus at this point, of moments where people give us a flashback through an afro or their hair in general, where Oda draws it where it's like a person's face on one side and then the memories are on the other where their afro should be. And it's like we're seeing that flashback within their own afro is like the idea. So like Brooks' flashback was like this. Ivankov talking about God Valley and stuff was like this. Sengoku talking about God Valley was like this. Like, there's a million examples where it's either an afro specifically or just hair. Even in the last chapter with Kizaru, when he's giving the flashback about him and like Vegapunk and stuff, it's his face on one side, and then it fades on the other half of the panel into his flashback with Vegapunk. So we see this routinely, that like hair or your head or whatever is tied to your memories, which makes sense. And then the last thing I'll say, because I've been talking for a long time, is
don't worry about it, brother.
Hair ties to Weaver cards, which ties to the soul. Right? Yeah. Like it's keratin or whatever, so like nail clippings or hair. And so you think about that soul connection with hair and everything. It's like, okay, is like, is hair the one thing that'll last forever? Is like, or like, is that like the extension of your soul that you can leave behind or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like if somebody, like, we know that whenever you die, the Weaver card disappears, but I'm like, well, what if you can just leave the hair itself behind? Then, like, can you reconnect to that person's soul or whatever in some way? You know, and maybe. And the way I think this works is that Joyboy probably went to Laugh Tale and, like, used, like, Law's fruit to cut off his afro. So that way it wasn't truly cut off. It's just separated from his body. And so then going back to what we were talking about with the poneglyphs, if he was turned into, you know, stone or whatever, well, maybe he, like, kept himself alive in some way, right? Because, like, if he gets turned to stone and he cuts off his afro separately with Law's fruit, he's dead, but not really. And so, like, that might be how the memory stuck behind. Maybe, like, I don't know if it would be his fruit or maybe, like, Vegapunk's awakening, like, whoever had the brain fruit in the past, maybe somehow, like, applied the knowledge to the afro. I don't know what the magic element would be, but it just checks off all the boxes. Yeah. We know they were high tech.
Electric afro.
Yeah. It's like Punk Records, but the OG version.
Yeah, and just like it's like how Vegapunk puts on the apple hat or apple head. Maybe you got like an afro head.
Yeah,
could be that.
I'm so glad you said that. Vegapunk cut his head off, and even after he died, the brain still works. People are able to tap into that information and learn from it. Did Joyboy just do the same thing with his own afro? Just cut the afro off. Then maybe he went to go fight Emu, and Emu's like, "Where's your hair at?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." And like they just never thought. And like and also Emu has the straw hat in the freezer. Did Emu maybe think that was like really important, but really it was the afro, and Emu just didn't make the connection? You know, it's like, well, I'll take your hat, but it's like, no, the hat's not. It's the afro that's the key. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, so I have 4 things going off of this. 4 is a lot, but
that's good.
I'll tackle them one by one. First up, at Laugh Tale, you mentioned, you know, the afro giving us everything because they learned about the poneglyphs, they learned about the Void Century and everything. Do you think there's just the afro at Laugh Tale, or do you think it's going to be the afro plus a bunch of other things too, like whether it be treasure, another ancient weapon, or stuff like that? Or do you think the afro will just be the one and all?
I think there's going to be like an afro and a treasure chest, tying back to my boy Gaimon. And I think next to it's going to be tons and tons of treasure. So I also think it's going to be inside of a whale, probably like Joyboy's version of Laboon, which I think is going to be named Davy, tying to Davy Jones, where Davy's the whale, Jones is Joyboy, because we also have the story of Jonas and the whale. So Jones, Jonas, Joyboy, they all start with J-O, like maybe there's something going on. But if you go back to when we were inside Laboon, there was treasure. There's like ships and like carnage and all that in the bottom of Laboon's stomach from just like over the years or whatever. And so I think, tying back to Davy Jones' locker, you know, that old story, I think that Joyboy was leaving all of his treasure inside of his whale. That's Davy Jones' locker. And then he left the One Piece there too. So that way, let's say Buggy were to get there first, I think he'd see all this treasure everywhere and like, oh, I found the One Piece. Like, look at all this stuff. But ignore the afro part because it seems irrelevant. But then Luffy would come and be like, oh, that's the only treasure I want. Like, that's it right there. Like, this is funny. I'm going to put this on. And then whenever he puts it on, it's like, oh, my God. Like, he's, like, uploaded with all this information or whatever.
I like that. That's really cool. No, this is the most unique. I mean, I already saw your afro theory, but I love it because it's, like, the most unique theory I've seen.
Yeah, I'm glad. It kind of, like, came to me just... Like, well, I watched a couple other videos, not about an afro, but I watched like but like the Davy Jones thing or the Jonas and the Whale thing, like that was from Dire Regulus, my guy. He hasn't made a video in a while, but he made that, and I was like, okay, hold on, you might be onto something. Mm-hmm. And then Den Kushi had one about Long Ring Longland, and I just kind of sat there thinking, like assimilating it all, and I was like, I mean, what if it's just an afro? And then like, so I just started thinking, it just came to me. And then the video, I just dropped everything and made that video, and it panned out. But
I love that, man. That's like a origin success story if I've ever heard one.
It got me on the map.
It got you on the map. So
you said you had 4 questions.
Yeah, that was the first one. The second one, okay. Have you ever, this is a tangent. I don't know if I want to spend too long on this one, but have you ever watched Bobobo?
No, I've heard of it though, for sure.
God, I love Bobo. It's about this guy who he lives in an era where there's people called headhunters, and they go around shaving people's heads off and shaving their hair off. And Bobo is like one of the few characters in the verse who actually still has his hair, and it's an afro. And it was like one of the peak comedy shonens back in the day. And it's actually so popular that a lot of other mangaka really like the series. And I don't know how many people here actually like watch or read JJK, but I'm not going to spoil too much, by the way. But there's a series of chapters in the manga that pertains to a certain fight, and the whole fight is essentially one big homage to Bobobo. And like chapter 1 is like the opening, and then they just go down the lyrics with the chapters, which is kind of cool. And since Gege Akutami did that, I wonder if Oda will ever have like a Bobobo memorial in a way, because it is like it's one of those like older series that people forget about, but it was actually hilarious, and the Japanese audience actually really well received it. And he like the whole thing is him having an afro, so I was like, oh, like maybe that has a tie-in here with One Piece if this does end up becoming true. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I should go watch that and add that to my spiel. You know what I mean?
It's 50 episodes, and it's going to be the funniest 50 episodes you've ever watched.
Well, because if it's funny and based off of an afro wearing guy, and then you think about Joyboy and how it's called Laugh Tale, they walk up and everyone laughed whenever they saw what it was. I'm just like, right there is already a good parallel with Bobo. You know what I mean? Like Oda's like we don't know that there's an afro at the center of it, but it's almost like the setup is there that it like if the One Piece was an afro, it's like that the parallel already is there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
so I like that.
I mean, when I look at Bobo fight, it does remind me of Sanganika and how he fights, because it's the most Looney Tunes thing out there. Like if Japan had their version of Looney Tunes, I do think it would be Bobo. Because like for example, there's one scene that I just go on YouTube and I show like my friends or my wife this all the time. I'm like, hey, like check this out. This is Bobo. Like this is what I used to watch back in the day. And there's like a scene where like he picks up the phone, and then all of a sudden it goes to a call center, and then he's like, oh, the phone's for you. And then like a fist comes out of the phone and punches the bad guy. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like you can't really like comprehend like how did we get from point A to point B? Like it doesn't make sense, but it's funny and it works in combat. It's like, oh, you know, like maybe that's what Luffy pulls out one day. Not like the phone necessarily, but just a bunch of attacks that just don't make logical sense. Because that's what Sanganika's powers essentially do for Luffy.
I mean, like, I'm kind of thinking, you know, you look at the Gorosei and, like, how they had the, like, teleportation powers. I don't know what you really want to call it, the summoning circles.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if maybe Luffy will get to a point where he can, like, do that, maybe even, like, on a better scale. And so you're talking about, like, this phone thing. Imagine he does it eventually where, like, he can literally punch through a Den Den Mushi or something because he can just, like, you know, teleport himself or whatever. Like, he can just... It's just he breaks all the rules. You know what I mean? Like, because he kind of already does that. But it's just the reason I bring the teleportation up is just, like... Well, for one thing, I don't know how that works, but if other people are able to do it, I feel like it would make sense if Luffy did eventually, or Shanks, or somebody that's good. But it would just... That would be, like, a good conduit for him doing crazy stuff, but Oda kind of grounding it in a One Piece thing. Because usually Oda... you know, has a good reason for things. Also, I see your cat in the back, getting his claws, you know,
got a lot of cats, man.
Not really sharpened, but
yeah, actually, I got 3 in the background. I got one on the couch right there, one at the scratching post, and then there's one sleeping at the very top.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then I got 2 more just kind of roaming the house right now, or roaming the apartment.
Do you have like a cat door to your office, or do you just or wherever you're streaming? Or whatever?
Just let them go.
Oh, because it looks like your door is shut right now. I don't know if that's like a closet behind you.
Oh, back here. That's a closet. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, there's like nothing in there. I got like some blankets in there, and like I think I have like a box filled with like tools and stuff, and that's essentially, I was about to say just the toolbox, but there's like a bunch of like knickknacks in there too. Yeah, just like,
there is a difference between a toolbox and a box filled with tools. There definitely is.
Yeah. It's like a catch-all box. I do have an actual like DeWare toolbox in there. I got like 2 boxes, and one is a toolbox. One, like you said, is a box full of tools and just random stuff. But yeah. I feel that. Like, I have my toolbox, like the stuff I actually use, and then I have the box of the spare stuff, and I'm like, I might need this 3 years from now, so I'm gonna keep it. But you know. Yeah, sometimes I get mad because like I'll throw things away that like I want years down the road. Like my monitor right now, for example, I have it on like its own stand, but I kind of wish I kept the default stand because I feel like it would have fit my setup better. So now I'm just like punching myself because I'm like, damn it, like you can't buy the stand online. Like there's no standalone version of it. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
don't throw things away. It's not hoarder mentality, but if you think you might need it one day, keep it. Do yourself a favor if you have the room.
And if I would add to that, if you own your own house, the ball game changes, which I don't know if you do, Sai.
Oh no, not yet.
Okay, yeah. So
Expensive.
I own my house, and I will say it completely changes because, like, for instance, I built a fence outside, so I have like a little bit of extra wood that's been out there for almost 5 years now, and I've been keeping it because I'm like, well, I might want to do another project. It'd be cheaper just to keep this around, instead of returning it or giving it to a friend or whatever. And it's just been sitting out there ever since, baking in the sun. And there's a million examples of that because like whenever you're doing house, because also like if I go and maybe I redo the trim in part of my house, I'll have like a little bit of extra trim, and I'm like, well, I should keep this because maybe I'll damage some and I can replace it, or maybe I just need it so I can go match it at the store for the other trim. But there's a million examples of that, and you almost never use it. So I guess I would just add a caveat that if you own a house, don't feel as attached. But like for a monitor, for electronics in particular, keep the accessories. Yeah, for sure.
I was about to say, that's me and plaster. I just have a lot of plaster just lying around in my closet for some reason. And it's like, I should probably throw this away. It's like 2-3 years old, but it's like, but if I need plaster, I'll have it here. And it's like, if I do need it one day and I don't have this, I'm gonna have to go out to the store, buy a big thing of plaster for like $20, and then just not use the rest of it again. Like it's a whole song and dance.
Yeah,
of just wasting money.
It doesn't get any easier whenever you buy a place, Si. That's all. Yeah. That's all I can tell you.
Here's a little bit of a tangent. You own a house. Do you garden? Like, do you have like plants or like a tree that you planted over there? Or like, do you just like let it roam? Do you let nature take its course?
I let nature overwhelm me a little bit.
You don't mow your lawn?
No, I do mow the lawn. Okay, I mow the lawn and I do like edging and stuff. Like I take care of that.
Oh, you're
that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I don't garden. Like I don't have a flower bed. I don't grow any vegetables. Any trees I have were planted before I got there. I'm actually trying to remove some plants. I have 2 bushes in the back that they're like really big bushes. So I want to get a truck and like tie a rope to the truck and to the bush and then just rip it out of the ground with the truck. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have
That's a legit strategy.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah. So I do want to do that, but no, I don't garden. I want to though. I have a spot in front of my house for a flower bed. But I really need to fix my gutters because it overflows into the flower bed. So I was like, well, whatever I put here is just going to die anyway. So I need to fix that, which I haven't fixed the gutters. But I do want to put a flower bed in the front because I think
just extend the gutters a little bit more. Or are you going to like redirect it?
I just got to replace them because I think there's well, for one thing, they're not clean. They're very well cleaned. So I think it's like blocked on one end. So that just overflows like in the middle of the gutter instead of going all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I also need to, because the roof is pretty old, I need to make sure like the gutter is like graded correctly, right? Like I think over the years, because it's supposed to be a slight like decline, and I think over the years maybe one part started sagging a little bit, and so now it's almost even, so the water doesn't flow right. Like I got to get them all replaced. I'm trying to get the roof done too, but
housing, man, the maintenance is crazy. Maintenance is crazy.
But if you own the house, you're kind of getting the money back every time you spend something, right? Like if I buy a new roof, and let's say it's like $10,000, for example, which I mean, if you get a brand new one, that's probably what it would be. Well, my house goes up almost $10,000, probably not exactly, but like the house value does increase substantially, right? So like you kind of get the money back whenever you sell it, so it's not that bad, but yeah.
Yeah, just got to think about the long con, really. Years from now, you'll sell the house, and boom, you'll get the money back.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of equity too. Like instead of paying rent, I'm paying mortgage, which some of it's interest that I won't get back, but some of it is principal that whenever I sell the house, I get that money back. So,
see, always got to stay optimistic with that one. I like it.
Yeah, if you guys ever have a chance to buy a house, just do it because there's only so much land.
Yeah, so. I mean, I'm an apartment guy. I haven't owned a house yet, so maybe I'm looking forward to it in a couple of years. I just for me, it's like I don't know where I want to settle down. Like I've lived in Oklahoma all my life, so it's like maybe I want to move out somewhere to a different state. But the older I get, the more I realize that I just like Oklahoma. It's like nice and peaceful. Nothing crazy ever happens here. The most we get is like a tornado down in like Moore, But like they're known for their tornadoes. Like I swear to God, like there's one supermarket there that gets torn down like every 3 years, and it's so crazy. It's like at some point it's like just stop. Yeah.
Because of tornadoes, that's why it gets torn down.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Like it's known as like just a tornado alley essentially. Like it'll just run down more, and that's why if you're ever in Oklahoma, you run down more in your car. You'll see that there's like a lot of newer buildings. There's not a lot built there, and it's because I think people just don't want to build there anymore. I think it's getting better over the years, but I remember like 15, 20 years ago, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's insane. We get a few tornadoes up here too. Not nearly as bad as you, but I have seen the damage, and it's crazy. And also tornadoes are kind of like you look at like hurricanes and other kind of storms, and they like that's usually flooding issues, and like you can kind of mitigate that through certain things like levees or waterproofing or just putting houses on higher land or whatever, right? But tornadoes, you're just kind of screwed. So
yeah, and to back up my claims too, if you guys watch the movie Twister, it actually all took place here in Oklahoma.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the new movie Twister and the old movie Twister. So it's all set in Oklahoma, which is kind of funny.
Wait, do you mean the like the script, like the setup of the movie is in Oklahoma, or it was recorded in Oklahoma? Both. Oh well, now that is the ultimate
whammy for tornadoes.
Yeah, if you had any question, now you know.
Be wary of tornadoes, guys. So with Laugh Tale though, let me spin you my yarn, because this is a theory that I've been kind of working with the past 3 or 4 days. So leading up to this point, I've never had a One Piece theory, like what is the Laugh Tale, because I cared about it, but it was more so like there's so many good options, and like, there's nothing that really sold me yet. But there's one joke that I kept on making, and I was like, you know what, like maybe this is the joke. But maybe what's waiting for us at Laugh Tale is a giant pair of cheeks. Ass cheeks, to be precise.
Okay.
And I sound like a maniac telling this to anybody that's not Par, but
Par would already be like, oh, because of this and this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Know.
That's how it works with Par. Par is just like, throwing like random ideas out there, but we were joking around, and we were like, oh yeah, Emu has a picture of Lily in his flower room, but why doesn't he have like a full length picture? We're like, oh, where's her ass? Where is it hanging out? And we were like, wait, what if Emu is a top guy? And what's waiting for us at Laugh Tale is the bottom of Lily, or just a bottom of cheeks in general. Mm-hmm. Like whether it's a picture, whether it's like a mimicry of cheeks. And I was like, yeah, like when you think about Laugh Tale, like, there's only a bunch of grown men laughing at it. Like there's no women that made it to Laugh Tale. It was all guys. Toki, by that point in time, was already gone. Buggy and Shanks, the minors of the crew at the time, also not there. So I'm like, what if it's like a crude, like adult humor for guys? And I was like, what if it is just like cheeks? And then we started thinking about it, and then Rayleigh said, let's turn the world upside down. And it's like, wait a minute, like if Emu's a top guy, if we turn it upside down, we would have the ass cheeks. And then when you think about it, Laugh Tail, what if it meant like tail end? And then not just that, but pirate treasure is also called booty.
Booty, yeah.
So it's like, what if it is just cheeks? But I mean, that is why I like the idea that there's more than just cheeks there. Like, we have like the cheek joke, and then they're all laughing at it. And then behind that is like actually, something substantial that'll tell us about the Void Century. But, but for the main joke though, it is just like ass cheeks. Whether it's a picture or whether it's like, a mold of cheeks. And then Oda in Egghead Island did say, somebody brought this to my attention as well, but Oda was talking about how he has been working on drawing ass cheeks ever since he got to Egghead. And that's why we have Nami in, a bikini, Robin in a bikini, Lilith and York, like they're all cheeked up all the time. And that's because Oda said he's been practicing how to draw this. And we tie it back to like a lot of the SBSs and Oda interviews. And Oda is all about crude humor. People who say that Oda's like a saint, they don't know Oda, because in the SBS's 9 out of 10 questions is about boobs or ass. Like Oda is a guy's guy. So it's like, yeah, maybe there's a cheek related thing here. Maybe it's gonna be kind of cheeky. And I thought about like why Laugh Tale is like very pink, right? When we saw Roger and all them there, it was really pink. And I was like, well, like rosy cheeks for like your ass. That's like an actual thing. So it's like maybe that's why.
I think the best argument of all of it is that like I think they would have to be Joyboy's cheeks, and it would and the idea would have to be like, congratulations, you found my booty, right? Like that would be his like tale or like the funny part, right? It's like you found like, because whenever he says like my treasure, another way would be like is my booty. It's like, oh, it was actually my booty. And tying back to, because the reason I can kind of see it is because you tie it back to kind of what I was saying earlier with, maybe Joyboy was turned into stone and then chopped up into pieces, or maybe his afro was cut off with like Law's power. It could be that like his ass was just, separated and left behind. And also, this is like taking it to a whole other level, but we have seen in One Piece that you can talk with your ass cheeks, because Kinemon farted and was able to talk, right?
Yeah, that's how Kinemon talked. Yeah.
So what if Joyboy's cheeks are what tell you about the history or whatever,
and here's
right?
one more. Somebody commented this, and I love the idea. But they said, hey, you got to remember Brook. Brook has a running gag where he wants to see panties. What if we get to Laugh Tale and it's actually like ass with panties? Like Brook would go wild. Like Brook has been talking about this, till the cows come home, and here it is. Brook finally gets to see panties at the very end.
Yeah. I mean, even when he got summoned, like, he didn't really get summoned, but it looked that way in the time skip on Namakura Island. The first thing, he's like, Satan, what do you want? Like, whatever. And then he's like, may I see your panties? Like, the first thing he says. So it's like, you have this kind of feeling of like this evil kind of like overlord from hell even being interested in that. And so, with all the talk of, kind of like the good guys being devils throughout the story, like they're always depicted as bad, I could kind of see a world where, Oda does parallel off of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I haven't made like a full-fledged video on it because I don't know how I'm going to transition into, hey guys, it's ass. Yeah. But, like outside of that though, I think it's my one Laugh Tale idea that I'm kind of really enjoying.
It reminds me of the Afro one in the sense of like it's unique. It tackles at least one of the biggest questions, which is like, why did they laugh? Because to me that's the ultimate thing. I feel like, and I mean, no offense to these people, but when I hear like, oh, there's a big poneglyph there that you learn the history on, or it's a book, or it's whatever, I'm like, nobody's laughing at that. Like it's just like even if your argument.
I saw that.
Yeah, like even if your argument is, oh, well, they read the story and the story is funny and that's why they're laughing, I would be like, but Oda's clearly setting this up that whenever you pull up and see it, you're gonna laugh. Like that, to me, that's very clearly the idea. The story is funny because that's why it's called Laugh Tale, like that. It's right in the name.
Yeah.
But I can't see a world where like all the Roger pirates pulled up. They all spent time reading this book or reading this poneglyph, and then they all just started laughing. Like, I think it's like, they got there and were like what? Like, okay, this thing is so random, like already kind of laughing. And then they read the story and it's like, oh, so that's why this thing is here? And then they're like laughing even more than they were, right? So I like ass cheeks more than a lot of guesses. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. That means a lot. From a Laugh Tale enthusiast, a Laugh Tale theorist, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably a lot of ass references in the story that like I can't think of right now, but that you could maybe even play off of.
Yeah, I might have to like go back and just check out all the ass cheeks in One Piece now. Yeah. Or like see like the interviews Oda's talked about with ass cheeks. Like, I mean, I guess there's also mooning too, right? Like there's mooning.
Oh yeah. That's a really good tie-in too.
And then Luffy, when he was fighting Kaido, this is an anime-only thing, but I remember Luffy did like turn around and slap his cheeks a little bit to tease Kaido. So like maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something there. I'm gonna play around with it a little bit more. I'm gonna put it in the oven for like maybe another month or so, and then I might actually make a video on it. But if you want to sequester it too, be my guest. Anybody, feel free to take the ass cheek theory and make it your own.
I mean, Sai, I think it would be a good video. I mean, I don't know what the hell you would put on the thumbnail.
Yeah, like the thumbnail,
I wouldn't put the cheeks.
The title, demonetization because it's vulgar. Like, you're gonna have to deal with all the stages of hell for this one, but like, or YouTube hell. But I don't know. Maybe it's worth fighting for.
And you've dealt with it a lot. I feel
God,
like
three channels, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna leave that one up to you.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a battle I take on pretty soon. But outside of this, though, like, we're going to Elbaf right now. The Straw Hats are about to land there in a couple of chapters. We'll make landfall. But past Elbaf, where do you think we have left to go? Are you a Lodestar, Laugh Tale, Marie's Raw guy, or do you have like an extra island you want to throw in there? Like how do you see the story moving forward? What do you think is going to be our course of events? I know that's a really open-ended question. You know, you can even add in islands we don't even know about yet. But how do you see things playing out?
Yeah, so I think we're pretty much set for Elbaf, Lodestar, and then some combo of like Marie Joie for the final war and Laugh Tale. Now the problem is what the order of that is, because Oda has brought up in an interview before, and maybe even multiple of them, where he's like, you know, there won't be a story to tell once they find the One Piece. Like that'll be the end of the story, you know. But I think a lot of us understand, like, it seems a lot easier to go get the One Piece, learn about the world there, and then let that be the motivation for taking out the government, right? So I'm a little, so as far as like that ending, I'm not really sure yet, but I do think those are the three main steps. However, I do want to throw in a couple other ideas, because there's a lot of things in One Piece that deserve a visit, even if it's not the Straw Hat crew. I think us viewers need to go there. And like for example, Fishman Island, because we already know that Luffy is supposed to tear down, you know, or we've like seen the flash forward from Shiarli, right? Now, could that be Katarina Devon pretending to be Luffy or whatever? Could it just be Luffy himself? Maybe he gets pawed over there and then maybe, you know, he comes back, whatever. There's a lot of options there, right? That could be the start of the Marie Joie war arc or whatever, because maybe Marie Joie is like, oh, we're going to fall into the ocean now because the red line fell or something. So I think Fishman Island is one that we at least need to stop to. I think another one that people sleep on is Tequila Wolf. Not that I think the crew is actually going to go there, but that's such an unanswered mystery at this point. And that's like it's almost like its own continent at this point, because it's just so long, right? It's like going across most of the East Blue. And so I'm just like, we don't know why that exists, and we know that there are like lots of slaves there, and the Revolutionary Army had a stake in that place, and Robin does. So I think that's a place that we're gonna definitely need to like explore. Like I said, even if it's other people who are there and we jump over there as readers, and the Straw Hats don't know, I think that's something that needs uncovered. And then Vera also. So I'm not a big believer that we're gonna go to Vera, but a lot of people have brought up Vera, and since it was in the Road to Laugh Tale thing, I feel the need to at least mention it. Like, you know, I don't think we're going to go there, but I just think, you know, maybe somebody from there will matter, or maybe Vera will be the next island to get deleted by the government. Like, I don't know what it is, but that's another place that I think we have to spend time at for sure. Yeah,
and if people forget, Vera is it's a small, I looked it up as well. Vera is a small country somewhere within the Grand Line that the revolutionaries eventually visited it. And that's why when people say that, oh, maybe Dragon has a poneglyph, because I know some people are on that boat, people typically put that on Vera, because like you said, it was on the Road to Laugh Tale. Oda said, oh, the fourth road poneglyph, where is it at? Is it at Raijin Island, Vera, Elbat? Like, he threw out like a bunch of random options, and people were like, wait, Vera? You know, we haven't heard of Vera in like ages. What's going on here? It was mentioned like I think once or twice, and that was it.
Yeah, I think we had like a letter from someone from Vera, or Nami, I think it was mentioned Noland. I can't remember. Yeah. Hold on, I'm actually about to look it up real quick. But yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we got like a like Nami read something that talked about Vera, right? Something like that.
I believe it was like Nolan's logbook, or like a whole thing of like Nolan's adventures, and Vera was one of them. And ever since then, I mean, Vera's been not a hot topic, but it's been living in the back of a lot of people's minds, and I don't mind the Vera option at all. And the thing with Noland as well is that, in a weird way, he's still relevant to this very day, because Noland is one of the first few characters who also referenced the Tontatas, you know, the land of dwarves, and then he came back in Dressrosa, and we saw a statue of Noland, and that's why we have the whole, like, Uso Land and Luffy Land thing. And it's like, yo, like, I think Noland is gonna continue to be important in really weird ways, and I feel like he will be important when we get to Elbaf as well. I feel like that's gonna be a whole tie-in for Usopp's warrior arc. Usopp lied about being a Nolan descendant. I feel like that could come into play on Elbaf.
Because he is one.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree with that now. I actually made a theory on this, and it should be out tomorrow, about Usopp being a Nolan descendant and how that could play a role in Elbaf and how that could have him wield whatever weapon they have there, or, put in a place of challenge by Loki and the Giants, just because of that, quote, false lineage that might end up just being true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a long-winded answer.
No, I fully believe in all the Nolan hype, by the way. That's one of my favorite characters in the entire story, which I feel like some people are like, they don't even remember him, which is crazy, but I love him. And, let me ask you this. I don't know if, well, your video will be out before this, so I guess I'm not spoiling anyone, but...
Oh, go for it.
Do you think Usopp's name is Mont Blanc d Usopp?
I never thought that far as to the name, but I wouldn't hate it. I mean, the guy doesn't have a name at all. It's literally just Usopp. We have Usopp, Yasopp, and the deceased mom. Like, if they get, like, a full-ass name, all for it. I would love that.
I think Mont Blanc d Usopp would be... It would be perfect. Now, the only issue I would say is that if that was the case, Usopp probably should have at least heard about it by now. Like, it would be kind of wild that, like, nobody ever told him what his family name was his entire life. Like for us to not hear it, I get it. Oda might be hiding it. But, for example, when Usopp went and heard about, Mont Blanc Noland, he probably should at least have an idea, like, oh wait, I've heard that before, like my family something, but that never really happened. So that's like maybe my one holdup, but it does line up, and I feel like that'd be really hype. Maybe even like for the readers it'd be hype, but I think also for Usopp's sake it would be a confirmation to him, because like even though he lies about these things, sometimes he like doesn't believe in himself whenever, and so if he heard that, like, oh, I am a descendant of this guy for real, and I'm also a D member, like it would kind of hype himself up and maybe help him become a brave warrior of the sea. So
I mean, we could even look at this another way. Like, what if the Nolan name has been scorned so hard and heavily that, first off, we have Cricket, right? Cricket's trying to defend Nolan. What if Usopp comes from a different branch of that family where they're like, oh, we actually don't want to be associated with him. Like, he is a stain, so let's not tell our descendants that they're Nolan descendants, so that they're not associated with that name and that story. And that's why Usopp has no idea, because the mom doesn't know, or like the dad doesn't know.
That's a really, really good parallel, because it would be Yasopp who would be responsible for it, because like he would presumably be taking his dad's name.
Yeah.
And so I actually really, really like that. Like, because also, Yasopp left really early in Usopp's life, and it could be a thing where, like, maybe his mom was never even told. Like, Yasopp never wanted to say his family name because he was, like, embarrassed. Or he even may have told her, like, well, if I tell you what my name is, then you're going to get ridiculed or whatever. So, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. She likes to like walk on my monitor, and I don't mind, but it's like she'll actually rub up against that in my camera and like knock everything out of place. I'm like, whoa, like you can't come up here. You're too dangerous.
Yeah, no, my cat Larry does the same thing.
It's like they're marking their territory by like rubbing their head on everything, and it's like that's lovely when it's like everything else, but please, not the things I have set up. Anything but that.
When it's me just like laying in bed, and you're coming up and bumping into me doing the head boops, it's like all good. Exactly. All about that, but not the computer.
Yeah. Oh, here's a quick tangent about my cat though. Make sure to feed your cats a good amount of fiber, or else you'll have to take an emergency trip to the vet like I did this week.
Oh no! Wait. So, before you tell me about the vet trip, which I do want to know about. Tell me more about this fiber thing. Were you feeding your cat like normal dry food, or were you doing wet food, or what?
Yeah, so I do a mixture of dry and wet. Throughout the day, dry food, I have like a lot of timed machines that like dispense it out, and then at night I do give them all wet food. So like it's a nice mixture. And I have been sprinkling in fiber. Yeah. With the wet food, I usually have these. I have these like pumpkin. Which pumpkin is fiber, but like I squish it up and I just put it into their wet food. I sprinkle it in. And you can actually buy it from like PetSmart or Amazon. It's out there. It's like a little topper. And the reason that happened, or the reason I do that now, is because my oldest cat, his anal gland ruptured. Only 8. 8 or 9, yeah. His anal gland ruptured. And apparently that happens when your cats don't poop enough. Or when their poop isn't large. which is due to a lack of fiber. So if that happens, like, they have like an anal gland on their 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and if they don't poop large enough, the anal gland doesn't expand and it doesn't release all like the fluid within it. And then after a while of it just not expanding, it'll just rupture and burst their skin out. Which sounds really bad, and it looks pretty bad. So I took my cat to the vet, got his shots, and he's good now, but now I'm just adding in fiber to like all their foods. I'm like, okay, let's not have that happen again. Let's have them stay healthy.
Wow, dude. Well, I'm glad your cat's okay. My oldest cat he's 8, so same age range. So now I'm feeling like maybe I need to go sprinkle some fiber in there.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, hey, all it is, just buy like a little bag for like $20. Take 1 or 2 pieces, just maybe even just 1 piece. It'll last you a long time. Just sprinkle just a little bit in, and you're good.
Okay. I mean, okay, this is a really random question, but like,
yeah,
as far as the purpose of making, because you said like to make the poos bigger, like you know whatever, like it needs to just be, I don't know, more thorough. If the cat eats a lot of its own hair, does that supplement any of that? Like, does that help build the structure?
I don't know.
Okay, because my cat's a long-haired cat.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's always, you know, he's coughed
himself
up a good number of hairballs before, you know. So I'm just wondering if does the hair supplement the fiber?
I wish.
I don't know.
Because my cats do the same thing. They like have a lot of hairballs. I have a lot of short hairs, so I don't see hairballs as often. But when they groom each other, they lick themselves. It's like the hair just naturally just gets in. I think even if they just open their mouth, like hair will just like get in. It's crazy.
It does.
Yeah,
dude. There's sometimes you know, another small tangent, but like whenever I go to the bathroom, because I live by myself, I usually don't close the door, so one of my cats always comes running in, and almost so like pretty much what happens every day is if like I'm trying to go and I don't give him attention, he won't like that, because I don't know if he thinks like I need help or something, and so then what he does is he goes to the other corner of the bathroom and starts eating hair. And then I have to stop him, because I'm like, dude, stop! You're like choking yourself. You're like, why are you just eating? And I think it's because he wants attention, and he's like, he knows I'll stop him. And so the eating hair thing has been a struggle, because he's doing it too much. So that's why I was wondering, like, maybe it's a good thing.
I know there are some foods out there for cats that actually help them with their hairballs. I don't know how, but like it's another mixer. Like, I got into the world of cat food toppers. And now I just like add a bunch of like random like nutrients and like little things here and there. It's a lot of fun. I feel like a chef.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up, man. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I need to up my cat game.
Yeah. I mean, apparently the anal rupture happens more commonly to dogs. Like for cats, it's super rare. So maybe you don't have to like go out and buy pumpkin. But for dogs, they say like this happens to a lot of dogs.
Wow.
So like I'm kind of surprised that like my cat had the rupture.
Yeah, I gotta feed them some more vegetables or something.
Yeah, you know? Something like that. So back to what you talked about earlier. You mentioned Tequila Wolf and that how we need to go there eventually, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the idea that when the Straw Hats fight the Blackbeard Pirates, or even the Red Hair Pirates fight the Blackbeard Pirates, how would you feel about the idea that Van Augur has an awakening that sends each 1v1 to their own respective island?
Oh, that's a fire idea. I've never really considered that. And I like that idea like just immediately, because I think so. The Blackbeard Pirates obviously all have devil fruits, and a lot of them are gonna, especially whenever they awaken, are gonna be like obscenely destructive. Like, and I don't think they would want to mix powers. So, like for example, if they're all fighting in the same area, and Shiryu awakens and turns stuff invisible, and then San Juan Wolf, you know, awakens and turns stuff giant, that's almost like disadvantageous for them, because it's like, okay, like these buildings are growing in size and turned invisible. I don't know how to navigate this area. And also, it's like 50% Avala Pizarro. Like, he can feel the build. Like, what does that feel like if you're Avala Pizarro and then everything starts getting bigger around you? Like, is it like getting a metaphorical island boner? Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's weird, dude. I don't. Or do you feel like you're like getting buffed up? You know what I mean? Like, you feel stronger because of that. Like, I don't know. And so I actually like it, because then they could all go all out, because that's actually something with the admirals that I think has been a really big factor, is that they haven't had a chance to go all out except for Aokiji and Akainu during their 10-day fight. Because usually they're in places where if they were to awaken, because most of them have Logia fruits, if they were to awaken, it would bring so much destruction to the island, or like permanently change the island, that it's too risky. And I think the Blackbeard pirates, while I think Blackbeard is the only one with a Logia, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think all of them being on separate islands just makes sense because their fruits are still destructive. Like even Blackbeard, just for that alone, Blackbeard has to fight on his own island because he's definitely going to awaken his Logia fruit whenever he fights Luffy for sure. And then that's going to turn the whole island into darkness. Surely the other Blackbeard pirates would need to, be somewhere else. San Juan Wolf will probably be the size of an island. He already is kind of. So, I really like that. Do you have anything else to build onto that ideas?
Yeah, just a couple of small things. I mean, the only reason I came up with this idea initially is because of Garp's fight at Hachinosu. I was just thinking about how chaotic it was, and I was like, yeah, the Blackbeard pirates, they're known for ganging up on people. But also I was like, well, this is only 4 of them, right? Like, if you add in the rest of the crew, like, their fight would just get insane. Like you said, like, they would destroy the island, they would be disadvantageous. But it's like, maybe that's what they want, though, right? Maybe they want to catch the Straw Hats off guard, and it's literally like a team battle royale. I would like that idea a lot, but I have watched a lot of Battle Shonen anime, and I love Bleach. And there was one ability in the Fullbringer arc where the guy put everybody in their own rooms and dimensions. And I was like, yo, like, that's awesome. Like, I wish One Piece did that, right? Because when we're fighting, it's always, Zoro and Usopp are in that room, and then Luffy's up at the tower, and then just, it's all just in one island. And it's like, as these fights get more and more expansive, we need to find our own locations. And another reason why I thought of Van Augur and his ability teleporting people to different islands for their own battles is I was like, yo, there's a lot of characters we've met in the past that I think we will see them eventually, but it would be cool if, like, Usopp fights Van Augur at Syrup Village, and then we see Kaya and the boys' reaction. Maybe Nami fights Devon at Kokoyashi Village, and then we see, I forgot the guy's name, the pinwheel guy. It's like Gin, right? Gin? Gin?
I
think it starts with a G.
But I
think
have a name I want to say, but I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah. But yeah,
Genzo or Jinzo.
Genzo, there we go.
That's what I was gonna say, genuinely. But I was like, am I confusing him for the Yu-Gi-Oh character Jinzo?
You never know. Yeah, like we could have a fight over there. Maybe Luffy goes back to Mount Fuchsia, and like I think there's a lot of like great things that can come out of Van Augur teleporting them. And then as far as like how they get back together, maybe after they beat Van Augur, the awakening undoes itself, and then they teleport back to whatever island they're originally at. And I just think that's a really cool idea. Just having us revisit those characters, revisit those islands, and just have the people from the past see the people we've become today, right? Because they only see us through bounty posters. So I think it'd be like awesome if Usopp sees Kaya and she's like, yo, like, this is him. This is the brave warrior that he's become.
Well, and also something that I have been thinking for a long time regarding Usopp and Augur is that I think that whoever wins that is going to be known as Sniper King. Yeah. And that then it raises the question of, well, where's Sniper Island? Because, the Sniper King is the king of Sniper Island. That's how it's supposed to work. Yeah. Well, if they do go to Syrup Village and have the battle, then I think they would definitely be all good to call like that Sniper Island, because it's like Yasopp was there, and then Usopp was born there, so it's like you already have like 2 really good snipers there, and then the battle of like the best snipers in the world happened there, and so like that would maybe just give it the moniker of Sniper Island because of all that. And then Usopp would be the king of it because him and Kai are going to get together, and Kai is like the heir to the throne or whatever, right? Like, she's like rich. I don't really know what the whole, I don't know if they have kings there, but they'd be like the leaders.
Yeah, and how about this? So, here's a one-up. Like, you could ask, like, why does Van Augur teleport Usopp to Syrup Village and like Nami to Kokoyashi and all these places? What if the teleportation takes place and it takes you to where your heart's at, or like, your hometown? And it kind of ties in with Sniper Island, because Sniper Island is, Usopp said it's a place in your heart. Ooh, so like maybe that's it. That. And, maybe we don't want Kaya and the boys there because obviously they'd be on our side. Maybe that'd be too much because it would tilt the scales towards the Straw Hats too much. What if all the residents are gone because the world is sinking, they've already evacuated, and it's an empty island? Kokoyashi's empty, Syrup Village is empty, Fuchsia's empty, and these battles are literally like 1v1s, like they're the only people there. I think that'd be another pretty cool tie-in.
I would love
It's
that.
all fanfic, but
and I really like that because I wouldn't want Kaya or anyone there because Augur would use Kaya as like a prop to, you know, win. Like, I'm gonna take her hostage and you shoot me, you shoot her. I mean, then that might even be a cool thing where then Usopp has to be super accurate, you know. But regardless, I just think that, yeah, because Blackbeard pirates would definitely do that, like take advantage of whoever's there, right? Because they would like those people. And maybe it could even be a thing. Actually, this would be really, really good. Imagine, like the Blackbeard pirates try, you know, warping to these different islands because they know that people the Straw Hats like are there, and it's like, well, if we fight there, I'm definitely gonna win because I can take advantage of the people that you love there and like threaten them, and then you're gonna give in because you won't want me to hurt your friends or family. Well, I think it'd be really cool if maybe the Straw Hats knew that was going to happen and had everyone evacuate the islands beforehand, so that way, like, they all warp to the different islands, and then the Blackbeard pirates are like confused, like, wait, why is it empty? And then that's when the Straw Hats can like get a little bit of a leg up, like, yeah, this is what we wanted the whole time. Like, we wanted you to send us to you know, individual places. Like, we're all going to beat you. Like, it's way easier if it's one-on-one. And so they kind of trick him in that regard. That would actually be really, really good.
That'd be so sick. Or, like, you know, maybe not every island evacuates, and then we have Zoro being sent to, like, Shimotsuki Village, and the kids get to see, you know, the pirate hunter in action because they idolize Zoro, and they've never seen him. So what if they're like, whoa, that's how a swordsman fights? That's so cool. And then you have, like, the Shimotsuki teacher, like, no, stop that. Don't be a pirate.
Yeah, Koshiro, which... So
funny.
I don't want to get on a huge tangent, but I have like a little bit of an agenda with Koshiro where I want Koshiro and Zeph to team up for a fight. So it's like Zoro and Sanji, but they're predecessors, right?
Ooh, a fight on like, the Baratie would be cool.
Like, and I would want it to be a situation where they're kind of like holding people off for Sanji and Zoro, like they're just buying them time. And then Zoro and Sanji, because like then we would get like a little bit of a taste of like what the teachers are capable of against a certain opponent, and then they would lose, and then it would be Sanji and Zoro versus somebody.
Yeah.
And then it would be like, okay, like they got to be better than their masters now, right? Like they have to surpass them to a huge degree now, and like we would get to see that back to back. Like I think that would just be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like these are people from like the old age, man. Like they got to know each other. Like the team up is there. And like
Koshiro's heard a red leg.
Oh sure. Yeah, 100%. And then I just think back to the Little East Blue saga where we had these mentors like team up, and that's so fun.
Yeah.
Like we had the fake Zeph team up with the fake Kaya, and they teamed up with the fake. I don't know. Like there's a bunch of fake people there, like spin-offs of like the the East Blue saga, and it's like maybe that's hinting at something. Hey, throw Kureha in there too. Why not?
Oh. Dude, I'm ready for Kureha. Kureha is going to be cooking. It's whenever Kureha comes back. I mean,
monster.
Yeah, I don't. She's going to drop some lore, like because she was the first one who talked about the Willa D in the story.
Yeah,
so
that's insane.
She knows tons of stuff. So
between that, her age, and just everything about her just screams like hidden final boss or something.
Yeah, I think Kureha is somehow paralleling the immortal youth surgery stuff because obviously she's super old, but she's done it like naturally. We can presume, we don't really know, but it seems she's always like, you want to know what my secret is, and nobody wants to hear it. But you think back to the 20 MDs that were taken up to like the top island or whatever in Drum Island, the top, whatever you want to call those things, the peak, and we have the 20 MDs, and then there were also 20 kings back,
20
900 years ago. Were there 20 doctors back in the day that did immortal youth surgery on the 20 kings, so the 20 kings were still alive, and is Kureha like a parallel to all of that somehow, where now she's a doctor, like one of the MDs, not one of the 20, but she was like the last one other than Hiriluk in the island. And it's
there's so many parallels in One Piece, man. Like you said, 20 MDs, 20 kings. Kureha, maybe a spin of Joyboy. Like there's just so many things with this, and you could tell that Oda, like that's why I think theories in One Piece are so fun, because you can go back to like any point of the story and be like, hey, Oda had it was like a microcosm here that could like be a thing later on, or maybe he was testing an idea here and then he'll come back later in the Void Century. Like people did that with Skypiea, right? Like, oh, like Sun God was mentioned here, and then boom, we have the Sun God. Like what else is going to be brought in to like a larger scope? Like I think that's a lot of fun with it.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best parts about One Piece, man. It's like with Kureha, like there's like whenever you go to Eni's lobby, and Chopper is fighting Kumadori, he's like, oh, this is like biofeedback. I read about this before. And then we also go to Dressrosa and we see Lao Ji, who does like Qigong or whatever he called it. I can't remember exactly, but he had like a weird technique that like let him like get bulkier temporarily. And obviously he's like a super old man and stuff too.
Like a spin on Master Roshi.
Yeah, and so like all these things kind of tie together loosely. It's like, hey, where's Oda going with this? Like this biofeedback thing. So Chopper heard about it. Did he learn that from Kureha? Does Kureha do biofeedback? Does she have the same thing as Lao Ji? What is, there's so many little tie-ins here that are building up, and it's like, what's the final thing?
And then Kumadori's, he also has ties with the world government, and that's what they teach their agents. So it's like, wait, like how does this all come in?
Yeah, like. Does the government, know how to do what Kureha does? Like, where like you extend your lifespan somehow? Is there like a technique for that? Is there like a body control thing you can do? Or, not saying that, like, I'm sure the top brass of the government did get immortal youth surgery, but I'm almost wondering, like, do they know how to just extend their lifespans? Like, are they just masters of this? You know what I mean? Like, where they can, whether it's mortal youth surgery or biofeedback or whatever Kureha's special sauce is, it's like,
wow,
I don't know.
I just thought of two things. First off, I want to continue on the Tequila Wolf subject because I thought that was really cool that you brought that up. But also, I was thinking about like the other abilities that the world government teaches their agents, and they also have a finger gun. And it's like, how did the finger gun originate? And I just thought back to like the cheeks being at Laugh Tales. Like maybe it's like a spin on Naruto where they had the 1,000 years of death. And they just like, it's just like a finger up the ass.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Maybe that's the origin of the finger gun.
It was just like Emu just, poking just away. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's cursed.
The ass cheek One Piece thing, man. That's something.
Yeah, it's something. Sorry you had to hear that.
No, I mean, here's the thing I'll say is I wouldn't put it past Oda. As shocking as that sounds to people, because it's like there's no way Oda's gonna make ass cheeks this big thing. I'm like, I don't know if you know Oda well enough. Then like that, like Oda loves random jokes like this. Like we've heard it all throughout the story. Like Oda is a perv. Like it's just it's just who he is. Like it's been since day one. So I wouldn't put it past him.
I mean, I'll never forget the SBS where somebody asked Oda if Hody, Jones, and Arlong have multiple appendages downstairs, and Oda confirmed that they do.
Wow.
Yeah, because apparently sharks have like 2 or 3. So Oda was like, "Yep, of course, Hody, Jones, and Arlong have it, man. Come on." It's like, okay.
Hody doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
let me tell you,
he doesn't deserve it. That's crazy.
The steroids he took shrunk him down.
Yeah, so. Rest in peace, Hody, man. I love that guy. One of my favorite villains.
Really? You're a Hody
guy?
Hody.
Because Hody's so real. Like, I love villains that like feel like they could exist in the real world, and Hody definitely does. Like, there's a lot of people nowadays who get angry or upset just based on their environment and what they grew up around. So, like, the fact that Hody Jones doesn't have a legitimate reason to be evil, and he's just like, oh, people don't like humans, I don't like humans. I think that's such a real topic. So I think that's why I really enjoy it. I mean, as far as, like, villain goes, as like, power level-wise, I think he was very disappointing, very mid. But I like the idea behind Hody. I like the idea.
I think the biggest problem with Hody for me is that, we left the time skip ready to kick some ass, and that was like our first big villain, and it's like, this guy isn't even as threatening as some of the other people we've already faced.
If he was 10 times stronger, I think people would really like him a lot more.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be like a more threatening Arlong, basically, like in a way, and he was only threatening because he took the steroids, but even then, Luffy just kicked the shit out of him. So it was just kind of like,
Yeah, I like the steroid aspect, though, where he just kept on shoveling it in, and he just doesn't feel pain because he's so doped out. I thought that was kind of cool. It reminds me of Jack Hanma from Baki, if you've watched Baki before.
I've watched a little bit of Baki, but I don't know enough to know the names or anything like that.
Yeah, there's like a character who, before every fight, he just shovels down like 1,000 pills. And that's his whole shtick.
Wow. So he just goes in drugged up, like.
Yep.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I mean, I mean, I feel like that might happen in real life sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics, I mean, prime example.
Or you go to even just like NFL games or something, like everyone's taking supplements or getting injections or whatever. Like, not that it's all steroids or whatever. I mean, they test, but that's a thing.
So Tequila Wolf, though, I'm glad you brought that up earlier. And also, I love the idea of, like, you know, the whole, like, Zeph and Koshiro thing being, like, Sanji and Zoro. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But Tequila Wolf, I do wonder what the significance of that is, and hopefully we do find it out pretty soon. And maybe, this is why I brought up the fact that the Blackbeard pirates could fight the red-haired pirates, and we see this Van Augur ability first there, because maybe we get teleported to Tequila Wolf, and maybe Shanks has a tie-in with it. Maybe Shanks knows what's going on there, because Shanks is, you know, a celestial dragon. Maybe he has the insight as to what that bridge is all about. And I do like tying in Tequila Wolf to Shanks and the Figarlands, because this is my own, like, agenda here, but I do believe that Garling is a werewolf to some extent, and that Tequila Wolf could be what he's funding, because we do know Tequila Wolf is funded by the Celestials, right? So
right.
Like, maybe this is the Figarland project. And the reason I have the whole thing is because I believe he's a werewolf. You know, obviously his hair is a play on the moon. Oda drew his hair fully out. It was like a full moon. It's like, oh, like, maybe he's a thing. Maybe he's like a werewolf. And then we also have a Power Ranger who's literally named Crescent Moon Mask, and his ability was to turn people into werewolves. So I was like, yeah, like, maybe this is a thing.
Wow.
Maybe this is a thing. And then somebody brought up a really cool idea, too, that Garling could be a play on garlic, and it would be like the whole rivalry between Shanks and Mihawk with werewolves and vampires.
Yeah. So I love the werewolf and vampire talk. Now, the thing about the werewolf part is that's a lot like Sulong, and so it would kind of be like, you know, what, like, is there a connection there? Like, is Sulong from maybe like an offshoot of these werewolf people? You know what I mean? Like, did maybe they share like a common lineage? Like, I'm not exactly sure. So I like that. But I will say, as far as maybe like Tequila Wolf being a Garling thing, Tequila Wolf was first constructed like 700 years ago, or that's when it started. It was like 100 years after the Void Century ended, they started building it. And so that means that someone way from the past started it. And I think it might be a hint that whoever did that has the immortal youth surgery, because because they would probably want to see the ending for themselves. So, like, is it Emu or a Gorosei member, or maybe like one of the OG 20 Kings? Because, like I said, with the 20 MDs, I think it would make a lot of sense if the original 20 Kings got the immortal youth surgery. And I actually think if that happened, it would be really cool to see what happened to Lily, because if Lily did get killed, but she was given the immortal youth surgery first, it would be like, hey, if you're not going to be in Marie-Joie, you got to die.
It's like, how many people do you think have the immortal youth surgery? You mentioned, like, maybe the original 20 plus Lily. Like,
yeah.
So is that what you're going to go with? And if so, do you think they're all still alive right now, or do you think, no, they got, like you said, their immortal youth surgery ripped away from them?
I guess I'll say this. Emu definitely has it. And I would say the original 20 Kings, which Emu is one of, so that's, you know, a big factor here.
Yeah.
The 20 Kings, I think, also have it, because I think that was part of their, like, plan to take over, is like, we'll always get to be in charge, was like the idea. Now, I will say the Gorosei are an interesting case, because I think a lot of people look at their powers and the fact that they've been around this long and say, oh, they definitely have it. And I think it's very, very possible. But because we know that they have these, like, weird forms that are tied to these pentagram circles and are, like, kind of demonic, and, like, they aren't exactly devil fruits. Like, we haven't been told they're devil fruits, and I think we even arguably have evidence that they're not. That almost makes me wonder if the Gorosei are, like, their own thing. Like, they didn't get the immortal youth surgery. It's just like they made this deal with the devil, and, like, they're like undead already, right? Like, maybe they came back from the underworld, so, like, they're like Brook, where they're, like, in this awkward state of, you know, being dead but not dead at the same time. So for them, I could see both ways with them on the immortal youth surgery. Like, they definitely are immortal. It's just I don't know if they had the surgery. So basically, if it's Emu and the rest of the 20 Kings, that would be 20 exactly, which again fits with the 20 MDs, because Lily was one of the original 20, Emu was one of the original 20, and then there were 18 others. And now I think the question there would be, well, if all the other original Kings are alive, where are they? Because we haven't actually seen an 800-year-old king or anything yet, right, other than Emu.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, might lead to either what Blackbeard was doing with Boa's fruit, which maybe all these kings got turned to stone or something, and Blackbeard wanted to turn them back, and that's like the idea, because maybe Blackbeard wanted to create his own 20 kings to take over the world with or something. Or it could be like I don't know, maybe once Emu took over, Emu's like, I should be the only one with immortality or something. You know, it's tough, but I feel like the 20 definitely got it, and I think the 20 MDs is a good example. But I really, really want the case to be that Joyboy gave up his life to give Emu immortality. I want Oda to somehow make that work. Where, like, Joyboy's death resulted in Emu's reign, basically.
I like that. And, I am a big proprietor of that as well. I do think that when we get that Void Century flashback, we will see a really good side of Emu. And just over time, Emu became corrupted and became a bad guy. And, like, maybe Joyboy did believe in Emu, said, hey, like, you'll create a world where, there's peace and prosperity and this is going to be great. And then 900 years later, Emu, like, is the, quote, villain. Yeah. And it just shows that, like, no matter who it is, like, over time, anybody can get corrupted little by little. And we could witness that firsthand. As far as the people turning into stone, I like that idea a lot because it reminds me of, like, cryogenic slumber. Like, maybe they willingly got turned to stone. They're like, oh, in 1,000 years, let us go, and we want to see what the world is like. Kind of like Aliens. I went on a whole, like, Aliens binge the other day. It's like Wayland. Wayland's like, I want to find out what the truth of the universe is. Put me in this little pod and then wake me up when we're about to meet the aliens. And then he does it, and then he's like, this isn't what I expected at all. Yeah. Like, maybe that's going to happen with the 20 Kings. Another reason I like it is because it would add a good amount of filler fights. I kind of feel bad calling it that, but there are so many characters in One Piece that we haven't really seen fight yet. And if we have seen them fight, a lot of people want to see them fight again. Like Katakuri being a prime one. Big Mom and Kaido, if they're still alive, people want to see them come back into the fold. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet. The Admirals, Vice Admiral. Like, there's so many characters that we have under our belt that people want to see one last time before the series ends. But the real question becomes, who do they fight, right? Like, is it going to be pirates versus Marines or pirates versus the world government? And if so, like, we have only a handful of characters to go around, even including the Holy Knights. So introducing 20 OG Kings and having them be, quote, fighters, weak or strong, doesn't matter, but just having them there would give us enough time to flex out the whole cast one last time. Yeah. Which is why I do like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about, like, the filler fights, because also, if you look at, like, the aftermath of Egghead, I'm just, like, not threatened by the government or the Marines at this point. You know what I mean? Especially if they end up losing, like, the Seraphim, or if, like, Kizaru ends up quitting, or, like, it doesn't look good for them at all. And I feel like for them to, like, bring out this trump card that's like, hey, we have 20 immortal beings, well, I guess 18 immortal beings, that are ready to fight, that, have been waiting for this moment for 800 years, whatever. Like, that would be kind of cool. And, like, those kings wouldn't have to be that strong. They maybe are just as strong as, like, some of the Grand Fleet members or something like that. I don't know. So I like that a lot. And I do think at a minimum, even if the kings are dead now, like the original ones, I do think we're going to get, like a good fleshing out of who these kings were. Like, not that we're going to get, flashbacks for every single one, but I'm sure we're going to get to, like, see what they look like, get a little bit of feel for their personality, how they got together, what their countries were like before they got together. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. So I'm ready for the kings, for sure.
Yeah, bring them on. Bring on a whole new cast of villains. Do you think Oda's going to go down the Yu-Gi-Oh route and have characters from the Void Century look like characters present, like, spin-offs of characters we have present day? Kind of like how Emmet was like, oh, Luffy, you look exactly like Joyboy. And then we have Lily, who pretty much looks like Vivi, copy and paste, all right, but with, like, a few small changes. Yeah. Do you think that's going to be the case for the Void Century?
Yes, for sure. I wouldn't say it's as strong as, I don't think the guy who gave Emu the immortal youth surgery, if it wasn't Joyboy or whatever, like, I don't think they're going to look exactly like Law, but maybe they'll have a snow leopard coat on,
Oh,
right?
yeah, the hat or
Like,
something, some jeans.
Yeah, I think Oda's gonna hint at the connections, but I don't think it's gonna be, quite like, with, like you said, with Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I don't think it's gonna be quite as strong where they look like they could be the person's kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like clone. But I do think there's gonna be like little like homages to all of them, where it's like, like I said, the snow leopard thing, or if it's like, I'm sure that like there's gonna be a like a Leo connect. We already know that Tentada are really relevant to the past. I'm sure that one of the main Tentadas of the past is going to have a Leo parallel. Like, he doesn't have to look like him, but maybe he dresses like him, or maybe he, I mean, they're all kind of gullible, so I'm sure that back then they'll be gullible too. Like, there's going to be a lot of parallels to show like things aren't all that different, now than before.
Or maybe he has like a sewing needle, but he doesn't have the fruit, so he can't stitch well. Just a little riff on characters, yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe he's just a good, he's good at stitching stuff, but he doesn't have the fruit, and it's just like, oh, so that's why Leo got it, right?
Yeah. Like, it's the fruits have the will, man. Like, it just made its way back to Leo, his descendant. It felt the vibe.
I would love that, actually.
It felt the
like,
vibe.
I would actually really, really like that if that's what they did. Wow, yeah. And I saw a theory too. I don't know if it was from you. I feel like it probably wasn't. I can't remember, but maybe it was. Maybe you told me this.
Which one is it?
But Leo, with his stitching powers, you go back to Thriller Bark, and like you think about like sewing, like as if there's like stitching, like you have like an injury and you're stitching it together.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the theory was, but somebody brought up that Leo may be important for like sewing injury, like for like basically maybe they're trying to. Or maybe it was Randy, actually. Maybe, like, going back to my poneglyph idea that Joyboy was once turned to stone and then cut up into the poneglyphs, and that's why they're indestructible and everything, because it's like Joyboy's hockey, whatever. What if whenever we come to the point where we're reassembling those, if we are, Leo has to come in and do it with his fruit, because he has, like, sewing powers. And, like, what if you had to combine all the fruit powers to, like, make up the mistakes of the past or something like that?
Oh,
to, like,
that'd be nice.
To, like, remake what they destroyed. I don't know. I don't know if I believe in Leo that much. But.
Yeah, I don't believe in Leo that much, but I do think Leo will have, like you said, a lot of importance moving forward. Which, I mean, Leo, this guy, man, he encapsulates a majority of the One Piece world, where he sees that headline and he's like, oh, Luffy killed Vegapunk?
Yep.
Like, I still wonder what the fallout of that's going to be, because while we look at Leo and we see a dumb idiot, right? Like, Leo, oh my god, bottom of the barrel, like, this guy got hit in the head when he was a kid. But that's just how he is, and that's how a lot of people in the world of One Piece are, right? A lot of people probably look at the headlines, if they don't know Luffy, they probably think that Luffy killed Dr. Vegapunk. And it kind of makes me wonder if the same thing happened to Joyboy in the past. Like, we don't know why 20 nations gathered together to fight Joyboy, but what if it's the same thing? What if they kept on getting headlines and news updates that says that Joyboy went over here and did this, or he had a crazy experiment on his island and it, did this bad thing. And in reality, Joyboy was a really good person, but the news and the headlines just kept on spinning him as this evil guy. And then eventually that's when the 20 nations came together and beat him, all because of misinformation. And this could tie in with Big News Morgans and how he doesn't care about getting things right. He just wants to, like, shake the world up. He just wants to have fun and print the most absurd stories.
Yeah.
Maybe this happened in the past, and that is why Joyboy garnered the hate of the world, because that still boggles my mind. Like, when it comes to having people gang up on you, I wouldn't say it's always true. This is definitely not the case in real life, but there's a good chance that the majority has thought behind it, right? There's a reason why 20 very different groups got together and said, hey, F this guy in particular, we got to mess him up. So, like, what did Joyboy do that garnered this?
Well, one thing I want to add on is I love the idea of, like, Joyboy being framed a certain way, because, I mean, Luffy, like you're talking about, Luffy's already had that happen so many times throughout the story. You look at Doflamingo in Marineford, where he's like, justice goes to the winners, or whatever his phrase was, where basically, like, whoever wins gets to make the narrative, is basically the point, right? And I'm not sure if it would be a thing where Joyboy got framed a certain way so the Kings started hating him. I think it might be more of a thing where the King started framing Joyboy so that his own team went against him, right? Like whether he had a whole pirate crew and like Emeth and all them, maybe because like they are apologizing, right? Like you look, Zunisha had a great crime. Emeth, as soon as he starts moving, he apologizes. It's like, so there's something happened that they're not happy about, that they feel bad about.
Oh, a mutiny.
And I'm wondering if it's because they heard so many stories about Joyboy that weren't true, or maybe one specific story that like really hit them. It's like, Joyboy, you did this, and maybe he was even like, yes, but it wasn't the way that they thought. Like maybe he did do a certain thing, but the reasoning was good, or they just had a misunderstanding of it. I don't know, something where he's getting framed, and then maybe like Emeth and whoever and Zunisha or whatever were like, all right, 20 Kings, well, we can't let Joyboy do this again, so like we'll stop him. But because you also look at Akainu in Marineford, right? And he like with Whitebeard and Squard, and he's like, he like painted a false narrative, and then Whitebeard got stabbed in the back, literally, right, by like his own son. And so we've seen this happen before. And now for the Straw Hats, I'm just going to go say right now, I don't see a world where they ever betray Luffy. I think that's the lesson here, is that they trust him so much that even if they get put in the same position as Joyboy's crew, they are not going to get fooled.
I love
Maybe
that.
Chopper will, because Chopper's just a buffoon. but the rest of them,
they'll stand strong.
I think there's no chance. And like I really hope it's a moment where they're told something that's so powerful, and like, any normal person would hear that and be like, we got to stop Luffy. But they're like, nope, we trust him. Like,
like that Usopp panel where he says, believe in Luffy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you talking about, maybe everyone gets spread around the world with the warp powers. I think it would be even doubly cool if like they're told that when they're by themselves. And so that way, it's not like they get to look at each other and be like, we still trust him, right?
Yeah, I would love if the Straw Hats just have that unwavering faith in Luffy. And, even though Chopper is a bit of a Dumbo, I think he will, like, at the end of the day say, no, Luffy would never, right?
I think the only time he will is this final moment we're talking about, because you look back throughout the story, like in Wano, right? Whenever Luffy died, he died he didn't really die, but the first time he got knocked off the roof, Kaido's like, he's dead, you all lost, blah, blah, blah. And like the Straw Hats are kind of like, strengthening their resolve. But Chopper's like, wait, really? He's dead? Like, no way. And Sanji's like, bro, how many miracles have we seen? Like, stop.
Come on,
and
dude.
So I do think that when Chopper's by himself, he will kind of think through it and be like, I'm just going to default that Luffy's okay. Like, I've seen it enough times. I'm not, even if it's illogical, I don't care. I'm just, I don't have other people around me to tell me what to do. Then I think, like that final moment will be the only time for Chopper. But the rest of them, they already do it.
Man, I just think back to Sabaody, right? Like Sabaody 2.0. And Chopper thought the fake Straw Hats were the real Straw Hats. That's how much of an idiot he is, which it sounds demeaning, but it's not. Like, that's literally his character, man. He is pretty gullible.
Yeah,
he's a silly kid.
And reindeer, I think he said they don't have good eyes. That's like part of the problem, at least with that one. Like, he can't see that clearly, so it's like to him they do look the same, or that's like the idea. And he's just a gullible dude in general.
Yeah, and plus, they changed during 2 years, so maybe they did get just a little bit more scuffed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he hasn't seen them, so he doesn't know, too. Like, they probably changed. Yeah, and like I said, I just think that for Chopper, like, that would be such a hard-hitting moment for him to kind of, like, just, get through his fears, kind of. It would remind me a little bit of maybe, like Usopp with Chew a little bit, which like he was just fighting, but like he like is like, well, if he goes back, they're gonna hurt them, and then they're gonna be screwed. Like he like thought through it and was like, it's better if I stand up and do the right thing. So for Chopper, I hope it's the same thing where maybe he worries a little bit and he's like, well, what if I'm wrong? Like if I'm wrong, then I'd rather just hope Luffy's okay and ride with it and then see what happens. So
I would love that, because that would mean that everybody has their Usopp scene from Enies Lobby, where he like is like, no, like there's no way Luffy's losing. Like he's gonna win this no matter what. Like if every Straw Hat gets that individual moment, like they're all on their own separate island and they hear that Luffy's lost or Luffy's done something horrible on paper, but they're like, no, there's more to it. We got to believe in our captain. I think that'd be such a impactful final moment in the series. And I'm starting to believe it now. Misinformation, guys. Don't believe it. Don't trust the news.
And I also think that, Luffy's fight versus Blackbeard is going to be the final one, right? Like, they all might happen concurrently, but Luffy's is going to end last, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I would really like a moment where, like, the rest of the Straw Hats beat the rest of the Blackbeard pirates, and then, kind of like you're saying, like, maybe all the Blackbeard pirates, like, look to the Straw Hats and are like, yeah, but our captain's still the best, or, like, our captain's still unbeatable. And then they're just like, no, like, Luffy is gonna, be the pirate king. And, like, just like that moment of resolve, like, no matter what Blackbeard has planned, even if he's awakened all of his different powers, even if he has, maybe the Joyboy poneglyph thing is true, maybe he has, like, Joyboy's old body or whatever at his disposal, like, I'm sure Blackbeard's gonna be very, very menacing by the end, but I think it'd be really cool if, like, we get that moment just, like, no matter how daunting it is, the Straw Hats are still with Luffy, like that.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
It would hit.
Oda's gonna go insane with those fights.
Yeah. Last question now. But do you think the Straw Hats, even just Luffy, do you think they will meet and actually get the chance to talk to Joyboy?
No, I don't. I do think that, let's say my Afro theory is true, then I think it'll feel like they know him because they're going to be getting his memories, right? They're going to be getting uploaded with everything he knows, but I don't think they're ever going to get to talk to him directly, no. Now, I will say, like, with the Afro thing, we already saw, like his hockey was sent to the future with the rope, and, Voice of All Things works in weird ways, and so part of me does wonder if maybe whenever they go to Laugh Tale and, like, if they do put on this Afro or whatever the One Piece is, could there be some Voice of All Things shenanigans where they get to talk, like, he gets to say something to them directly, like, maybe. I don't really know. Like if you stored hockey into that rope, can you store observation hockey or something into something else? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe they could. So I would say probably not, but I wouldn't be that surprised if it does happen. What do you think? I'm curious. Do you have an idea about this?
I mean, it was just like base level. I mean, I watched a lot of animes, and the last one I finished was Frieren. And beautiful anime. I think definitely top 5. Like, I think the story is 10 out of 10. But the whole gist of it is that they want to make it to this final island, this final destination, so that they can talk to people who are dead. Because apparently there's like a heaven area where you can, like, meet to see spirits. I'm like, I wonder if that's gonna happen for Joyboy. Like, maybe we'll see him and he'll, like, not like for a long time, but he'll, like, say, hey, like, the Straw Hat looks good on you, and that's it. Like, just a one line, just drop a one-liner on us. Or maybe even Emu sees him. Like, maybe during the fight against Luffy, Emu sees, like, Joyboy in the background, and Joyboy's like, hey, see you later, buddy. Like, hey, you want to calm down? Like, you're kind of bad. Like, maybe something like that. I think that'd be cool. I think it would just be nice seeing, like, Joyboy in the present era, just for, like, a brief moment. And I know a lot of video games do this, especially in 2024. We've had 4 video games that have done this, but, like, the final boss is, like, a character who has been built up, and a character that, they've talked about for a long time from the past, and somehow they get brought back to the present, which I'm not going to spoil the games that do it, but there's a lot that do that right now. It's like, maybe that's, like, the trend we're getting. Like, we're all looking at Blackbeard as the final villain, Emu as the final villain, but what if it's, like, even, like, a test of, like, Luffy versus Joyboy even? I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so, going back to, like, that poneglyph Joyboy idea, like, Blackbeard resurrects Joyboy's corpse or whatever and uses it. If something like that happens where Joyboy's corpse gets used in the future, like, current time, I guess. Yeah. I do think there could be some shenanigans there where, like, I mean, in general, if Blackbeard's controlling it, then Luffy might have to fight him. I think that if that does happen, I actually think Kobe would be the better person to fight him because, Because for one thing, we already have the Garp and Roger parallel. If Blackbeard gets Joyboy's corpse or whatever on his side, then we can have Blackbeard and Joyboy versus Joyboy and Kobe. But obviously, Luffy would get to fight Blackbeard. Kobe would fight Joyboy's corpse or whatever. I think that just makes for, like, a nice little parallel tying back to Rocks. I mean, think about it. The guy's name is Rocks. Like, if Blackbeard gets a giant rock being to, like, made of poneglyphs to work with him, I mean, it kind of fits. Yeah, it would kind of work. I'm not gonna lie.
And then it also makes you wonder, why the hell does Blackbeard like Rocky Port so much that he rebuilt it? Like, we still don't know. We have not seen that thing. Like, at this point, I'm imagining like a mythical port, like I don't know, maybe it's gilded in gold, but there's also another reality where it's just like an actual just wooden dock. It's made with the wood from your backyard. Like I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and that's another rock connection between Kobe and Blackbeard specifically. But I don't know what's up with Rocky Port in the terms of what it looks like or what they're using it for, or like why whenever they say the Rocky Port incident, why is it not the Hachinosu incident? Like why is it specifically Rocky Port? Like it's on Hachinosu. It led to Ochoku losing his position and Blackbeard taking over Pirate Island. It's like what the hell is at the port that was so important that we named it Rocky Port? So I honestly don't have a good theory for that, but something's going on there.
Yeah, and here's one thing I want to spin your way too. I hope that when we get that Void Century flashback, we also get the origins of the Marines. Like you can already assume like how it's gonna happen, right? Like like they wanted peacekeepers, so they spawned in. But I would think it would be cool if we saw like the very first Marine in the Void Century, and maybe it was like a Joyboy Nakama. Joyboy's Nakama has been kind of prevalent all throughout, right? We had the elephant, we had the robot. Maybe back then, Joyboy's Nakama was a seagull. Or not seagull, but like the marine symbol. Like something to do with that.
It's a seagull, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'd be kind of cool.
Well, the reason I really like that is the Kobe parallel there. Like, it could be that Joyboy was friends with someone like Kobe who eventually led the Marines. Now, the issue with that, I would say, is that the Marines kind of became not a good entity. Like, they're good in a general sense because they do stop pirates. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely do have some function there, but they obviously act negatively a lot of the time, too, and cover stuff up and whatever. So I guess that would be maybe the one caveat is, like, if a Kobe parallel really did start the Marines, then the Marines would probably be better than they are. But at the same time, I don't know what else the parallel would be. You know what I mean? Like, Kobe and Luffy have such a connection. I'm sure Joyboy has someone like that. So I kind of like that thought process. I mean, there's also, Garp, obviously. Like, so maybe Joyboy's grandpa or Joyboy's even dad, maybe. I don't know. Oda could change it up.
We could also have the thing where it's like maybe the first crop of Marines were really good, and then just over time they just got more and more corrupted, like Emu, for example, right? Like I really don't think Emu started off as a villain per se, but just over 900 years people change, especially if like it's not you directly. Like if there's not like a Marine that's been alive for 900 years, maybe like the first batch, he lived 100 years, he had a good life, started a bunch of great people in this group of Marines, and then he died, and then the next people that took over, they were like maybe 90% good, 10% bad, and then we just kept on leaning more and more towards the side of the world government.
Yeah, I think that would probably be like the easiest way to do it, like just kind of showing that not necessarily one bad apple spoils the bunch, but that sort of idea. Just like as the Marines grow and grow, you're getting different voices. It's almost a reversal of what's happening now, because in recent times you've gotten people like Garp or like Saul or like Kuzan, who are Marine, and Kobe, who are Marines, but also understand that they're not doing, even while being part of the Marines, they're not necessarily good, right? Like they get their role here, and I think that'd be kind of cool if it started the reverse way, where like maybe the Marines started as good, then you get some bad people, and then it influences the whole thing, and then they end up being bad. But now we're getting the reversal where everyone was bad. There's a couple good people here or there, and now it's changing to be a good organization towards the end. Which I'm not saying that's necessarily happening, because Akainu's never going to let that happen, but I don't know. I could. It would make sense to me, and I don't know. I'm excited to see Akainu take his stand whenever that happens.
Please, Akainu, please. I think he's going to show out really hard, man. Akainu has to.
Oh, yeah.
Akainu has to.
Yeah. Oh, like, it's going to be crazy. If Oda doesn't nail the Akainu stuff, then the Marines have zero hope. Just sign off. Like, they already are the biggest disappointment in the series in a lot of ways for me. So maybe not in the whole series, but
and then the VAs too, right? Like how can you forgive that one?
Oh, don't even. They're not even worth. They're not even worth talking about. You know, like it's so disappointing. Bluegrass, get out of here.
Hound,
Cincinnati, I forget what his real name is. Was it
Red King?
Red King. Yeah, come on.
Hound, Urban, Tosa. Like all these guys, man, like they've just disappointed me left and right. But I still believe in them. Maybe they'll pull it back one day.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And then, I mean, and I like Fujitora, but you even have him where he just doesn't even listen. And so I'm just like...
yeah, he's not even on the Marine side.
Yeah, he's actively, like, in Marijois just not doing anything. I'm like, okay, Akainu, please figure this out. Like, your whole team sucks. And nobody likes you. Like, what's the plan here?
That's why I have to apologize to Kizaru, right? Like, not only are they brothers, but that's like the last person on his side right now that he knows of, right? Like, you know, from his era. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't blame him, dude. He's losing friends left and right. They're all incompetent.
It's bad.
Gotta keep the good ones. Like Kizaru.
I compared it to when I was a general manager at Chipotle. And I was like, the equivalent here is like I'm Sakazuki and Kizaru's like my service manager, and I'm calling like, hey, I got a complaint about this thing. They said like the rice was hard. What's going on? And then they're just like yelling at me like, if you think I'm slacking off, like come in here and see it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like you get in the building and work if you don't think I'm doing it. Like, and then for me as like a general manager, which like not that I would do that, but if I did, I would definitely like take that feedback and be like, all right, I'm messing up. I'm the one. I like, you know, they're having a bad shift. There's a lot of bad things going wrong, and they're doing their best. I shouldn't be complaining about it not being perfect. Like, you know, we're trying to figure this out. And so I think Sakazuki's in the middle of that kind of like, you know, lesson right now. But I also think Kizaru reacting that way, knowing him like he does, is very telling in how Akainu treats the Marines normally. We could probably presume this, but I think that's almost proof that he treats them all like garbage, you know, and it's just like, you're a cog in the machine, like literally, like if you aren't doing your job, you're failing, period, whatever. And that's why like Kizaru's standing up like, hey dude, like, I'm trying, you know, that's all I can do. That's all I can do. It's like, obviously I didn't let them escape. Like, I got hit in the face by Joyboy. Like, I don't know, like, screw you, you know?
Yeah, he like made like 10,000 vapes in the Chinese factory, and he's like, man, you want me to make 11,000, brother? What about the 10,000 behind me? Have you seen those vape factories? Man, they're crazy.
And where they're testing them, like where they have to like hit, and they're just puffing.
Dude, you know they all have lung cancer. They're gone.
Yeah,
those guys are cooked, dude.
There's got to be a machine that can do that.
Yeah, there's got to be a machine that can test it. I mean, to be fair, like maybe it's cheaper to pay them like peanuts than like make a machine for it, but I don't know.
But I mean, I'm looking at it like of all the automation to instill in a factory, I feel like the puffer machine is like one of the first things that I would get. Like, I just couldn't even imagine being like a CEO. Like, all right, I want to make money selling these vapes. I'm gonna have human beings like smoke them all day to make sure they work. It's like there's just got to be a better way. Like, you just don't care about the people at that point. You know? So.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, there's like a video where like they have like a factory displayed in China, and these guys just like different vapes. They're like, yeah, you know, I do this about 10,000 times a day. You know, on a good day I can do like maybe 12,000, and it's like, damn, dude, like just 12,000 huffs of a vape. And apparently, like every vape out there has been tested already, like by humans, and then they just like obviously like clean it out, sterilize it, and then that's when they shipped off to America.
Yep. But
it's still so crazy to think about and see. And then you got like the CEO and like the boss just sitting in the back office with his legs up, just kind of hanging out. I was like, damn, that's so dystopian. Which it's, you know, it's reality, but it's crazy.
It is, and it's crazy just because like for it being like a smoking thing, you know, it's just like it like all these jobs suck, but it's one thing when you're like, you know, checking clothes to make sure that the seams are sewed right, or, you know, just doing basic quality assurance. But when you're hitting the pen like 10,000 times a day, it's like, man,
maybe Costco ain't that bad after all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure those guys don't go home and hit the vape anymore. You know, they get enough. They're probably so buzzed.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah, they talk about it. Yeah, like they interviewed some employees. They're like, "Hey, do you smoke at home?" He's like, "Yep." I smoke. They're like, "Yeah, I smoke cigarettes at home. You know, when I have a break, I have a smoke break." And it's like, damn, like these guys are smoking in and out of work. Like they're doubly done. Well,
the cigarettes might be a bit different because I feel like that's like they're probably already into that. But I guess I just meant vape specific. Like
I see.
these guys probably don't smoke vapes at all. You know what I mean? And they're just
they're like
in.
sick of it.
But some of them definitely do smoke cigarettes. That's probably why they applied for the job. They already smoked. You know what I mean? But
they're like, hey, this is right up my alley.
yeah.
All right, hey, with that being said, though, guys, that is where we will end things off. We started with One Piece, and we ended off with cigarettes. You guys know how it is. That's how we do it over here. Make sure to check out Dax. I'll link all of his stuff down below, as always. Thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate the conversation, the insight, the theory crafting, the home improvement side of this as well. It's always a nice, fun time.
Oh, it always is, man. And I've gotten comments on my videos too, where they're like, "Man, whenever you and Side talk, it's just like two buddies like chatting on the phone or something." I'm like, "Well, that's exactly what it is." So
yeah, no, literally.
Yeah, I mean, the tangents aren't planned. You know, we got a lot of stuff to talk about whenever we get on here. So
whenever I do collabs, I think whenever I do my first or second one with people, they're always like kind of surprised. They're like, "Wait, what the hell was this?" And I was like, "Hey, this is just a conversation, man. Like I got no script, no nothing. We just hop in." One topic, and then we just kind of go from there. And that's why I appreciate the conversation with you, man. It flows really nicely, and I think we cooked up some pretty good ideas here.
We did absolutely. The butt cheek piece.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. No, anything but that.
That's my big takeaway from this conversation. There's always one big takeaway. That's this one.
Yeah, it's the ass cheeks. Well, thank you again, guys, for being here, and we'll catch you all later. Peace out, everybody.
See you guys next time.